that country by Russia's Putin? Is it going to make any difference after a month of damage, debris and devastation in that country? And is it going to make any difference after cities like Mariupol stand in piles of total ruin?
Thriving city turned to dust. Not a single building left standing. Thousands killed, thousands trapped. Mariupol on the brink. Russia moves in to surround Kyiv. 33 days and counting. What next?
Now, we've just received word that there is a new, highly capable, advanced NATO weapon that's on its way into Ukrainian hands very shortly. Is it going to prove to be a military game changer as far as Ukraine is concerned? We don't know just yet, but we're going to tell you what that weapon is. First, the headlines. UP government orders probe into killing of a Muslim BJP supporter who was allegedly murdered for celebrating Yogi Adityanath's win. 2 lakh rupee ex gratia announced for Babar's family. Mayhem in Bengal assembly over Birbhum massacre. BJP claims its MLAs assaulted by the Trinamool. 5 BJP lawmakers, including Shubhendu, suspended. Pramod Sawant takes oath as Goa Chief Minister for the second time. Prime Minister Modi, along with BJP top brass, attend the swearing-in Panjim. Is this end game for Imran Khan? No trust motion against Pakistan Prime Minister tabled. Imran blames foreign powers for destabilizing his government. Unprecedented scenes at the Oscars. Will Smith slaps Chris Rock for cracking a joke at his wife. Oscar punchgate triggers huge outrage against Will Smith.
Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the out of me.
For 33 days and counting, Russia has been raining hell on Ukraine. President Zelensky of Ukraine has been asking for just one thing from the West: more weapons to counter the Russian assault. Well, we're now hearing that apart from everything else that the West has been sending to Ukraine, a super weapon, a game-changing piece of military hardware is headed into Ukrainian hands, which could turn the tide of a war that is being fought from the air. Will this ground Putin's air force is the question. Take a look at this primetime exclusive. Over 33 days, Russian aircraft have been raining hell on Ukraine. But Russian aircraft have also been facing hell in the country, with large numbers of fighters and helicopters brought down by bruised but determined Ukrainian air defense units. Since the beginning of the war, Ukraine has been awash with lethal Stinger shoulder-fired anti-aircraft missiles, a weapon that has imposed a huge cost on Russia's air power superiority and will to dominate. But now, after over a month of constant bombardment, with its cities reeling from a second wave of Putin's aerial strikes, a new weapon is flowing into Ukraine. One that will give it even more teeth against Putin's air force. Days after the NATO summit in Brussels, the Boris Johnson government in the United Kingdom has decided to supply Ukraine with Starstreak, the fastest short-range air defense missile system in existence. The man-portable shoulder-fired Starstreak system fires missiles that accelerate to up to 4 times the speed of sound. blindingly zooming into their targets. The weapon then launches 3 laser beam-riding sub-munitions, increasing the likelihood of a successful hit on their target. The Starstreak has a number of advantages over the Stinger and Igla systems currently being used by Ukrainian air defense troops. Most notably, the Starstreak cannot be jammed by infrared or radar countermeasures. Britain's air defense commander has declared that Russian pilots will think twice about getting into their planes after British soldiers have trained their Ukrainian counterparts to fire Starstreak. With this latest NATO weapon entering a high-tech battlefield, will this give Putin's air power impulses reason to stay grounded? Or has Putin already war-gamed Ukraine's new defenses? Watch this space to find out what happens next. Bureau Report, India Today. And on this brand new development, I want to go across to India Today's Gaurav Sawant, who's been reporting from inside Ukraine. He was reporting just a short while earlier from Poland, which is a NATO neighbor of Ukraine's, from where several consignments of modern weaponry have been flowing into the war-torn country. Gaurav, we're hearing now, just days after that NATO summit that took place in Brussels a few days ago, Gaurav, now we're hearing that the United Kingdom under Boris Johnson has released consignments of the Starstreak air defense weapon for Ukraine. After the Stinger, now it's going to be the Starstreak, reputed to be one of the most formidable air defense anti-air weapons. It's the fastest such missile in operation anywhere. Could be a very big addition to the air defense forces of Ukraine, Gaurav.
Shiv, you're spot on. In fact, Ukrainian forces have been for long demanding either the declaration of a no-fly zone. In fact, where we are, you can see a number of signboards. Every signboard here in Ukraine talks about declaration of either a no-fly zone over Ukraine's skies or air defense systems, whether it's the S-300, because they know that is the best that they know how to operate, or the NATO systems. Shiv, but there is another point here.
Yes.
Who will operate the systems as of now? The soldiers would require, and these are very complex systems, they will take time to learn to operate. And if I may, we've just been interacting with some American and some British combat veterans who are here right now in Ukraine, training and imparting their knowledge to the Ukrainian forces.
Yeah.
Air defense systems, small arms systems, anti-tank guided missiles, surface-to-air missiles. A lot of these systems is where Ukraine is getting upgradation in terms of the weapons and systems that they have, and they're operating in time. Before they get that training, Shiv, there are combat veterans who are operating these systems for them. And that is why this explains the targeting of the Lviv route by Russia, because that's the route from which these complex weapons and systems are flowing into this country. And of course, combat veterans from some of these countries are coming here. Now, there are two things that Ukraine desperately requires at this point of time. Fighter jets and surface-to-air missiles, and air defense shield. Both that can keep Russians at bay. Just today, Ukraine has claimed that they've shot down another Su-34 fighter bomber of Russia. Now, whether they've actually done that or these are old pictures, we do not know. But it's a claim made by Ukraine's Ministry of Defense. And if they're shooting down complex fighter jets and modern state-of-the-art fighter bombers, it's an indication, one, even a month into this combat, Russia hasn't been able to take out all the air defense systems. Two, there are other air defense systems that are flowing into this country, Shiv.
Very, very interesting. So, if not a no-fly zone, which seems highly unlikely, the NATO has said that's going to be, interpreted as an act of war. It's something that the NATO can't comply with. But supplying the most advanced air defense weaponry to Ukraine appears to be very much on the table. Rajesh Pawar is a special forces veteran. He's very familiar with weapons of this kind. He's also been reporting from Kyiv. Rajesh, the NATO stepping up once again with advanced weapons. We've seen the javelins, we've seen the Stinger missiles, Rajesh, and now the Starstreak appears to be, according to some reports, has been cleared for delivery by the British government, to the Ukrainians. It's going to be yet another addition to the Ukrainian arsenal. And like Gaurav said, there will be trainers on the ground to actually assist the Ukrainian armed forces in the use of these weapons. How do you see this, Rajesh?
Look, Shiv, it's a very complicated question in two regards. First, how this latest equipment, which is huge,
Yes.
how will it be shipped inside Ukraine? It will be very difficult. Secondly, the operation part of it. Look, the Americans, I have interacted with many of them, Americans, British, Swedes, who have come in here. They're not the kind of specialists which Ukraine needs, and they will not be allowed to handle that kind of sophisticated and expensive equipment. They are basically people with very low ranks who can just fight on probably with the rifles and all. They're not specialists as such. And if they operate systems like Patriot, it will be direct involvement of a country in this war. This is how Russia will take it. This is how anybody who is watching this war will take it. So I don't think they will be shipped inside and the veterans from these countries will be operating the system. That's not possible, because that will be direct violation of what has been set forth so far, till now by Russia. That will be like these countries participating in the war. Because any veteran, I mean, any serving personnel can go in the garb of veteran in Ukraine and can start operating these weapons. So that's what's going to happen. And the critical thing is how they'll be shipped in. And what have been cleared so far, what I know, what have been sent to Ukraine so far are not so advanced. S-300 also has not been cleared so far for coming into Ukraine, which Ukrainians can handle. It's just like MiG-29, which Ukrainians can very well handle, but will not be given to them. And that's the final full stop America has put on that.
So this is a very important reality check that both Gaurav and Rajesh are giving us, that, you know, it's one thing to actually clear these advanced weapons like the Star Streak for Ukraine. It's another thing to first deliver it and then to actually train and work up the Ukrainian armed forces, you know, to effectively use these in combat. Gaurav, you know, the supply lines coming in from those NATO countries have happened in stops and starts, you know, weaponry from Germany, weaponry from, you know, via those supply lines in Poland. Are there, you know, how closely is Russia looking at these supply lines? Are these supply lines also vulnerable to Russian attack, Gaurav?
Every part of Ukraine at this point of time, every city, every village, every road, every track is in the line of Russian fire. And this is something that was told to us by the governor of the Kyiv military region. No part of Kyiv or no part of Ukraine is safe from Russian systems. Their satellites watch everything. Their missiles, you know, target everything. And that's something that's happening on ground even as we speak, Shiv. At this point of time. That's point one. Point two, has that route been targeted? That's also the route for humanitarian evacuation, and that is why those routes haven't been directly targeted, but signals have been sent out. Ivano-Franko has been targeted, Lviv has been targeted, a military training facility that the Russians claimed was training foreign fighters and mercenaries. Now that training facility was targeted, a fuel dump where fuel was coming in. Remember, there's an acute shortage of diesel, and countries like Poland, Canada, they're providing diesel, they're making up for the deficit of fuel. Those supply chains have been targeted, but not the road from where humanitarian assistance is also coming into this country. But the moment there is perhaps confirmation that a train or road is bringing in military hardware, you know, that the Russians would consider that fair game, Shiv.
Very interesting. You know, Rajesh, one last question to you on this new air defense system that's come in. And, you know, I really appreciate the reality check we get from you reporters on the ground, because that allows us to sift some of the information from the misinformation that might be coming in. But, you know, there have been such extravagant claims of losses on both sides, Rajesh. The Ukrainians, for instance, have claimed to have shot down over 120 Russian aircraft and helicopters. They've caused a lot of damage to their air power. Is that really the case? And how does that fit in with this need for more and more advanced anti-air weaponry? How do you see that, Rajesh?
Look, Shiv, I give you two facts which will clarify a lot of things. I don't have to say yes or no to a question, but see, on the very first day of the war, the day war started, every air defense system was neutralized. We have not seen Ukrainian Air Force in the skies. Gaurav was with me, and you have other reporters coming here. I asked them, have they seen an aircraft in the skies? We have not seen it so far, be it Mariupol, be it Zaporozhye, be it Dnipro, be it Kyiv. We have not seen Ukraine aircrafts flying in the skies here. So on the very first day, most of the air defense systems, air anti-aircraft systems, and the Air Force was neutralized on the very first of the war itself. That speaks about the capability they have of shooting down 123 aircrafts, which they are claiming doesn't seem to be true.
Yeah.
Secondly, with regards to this aircraft, which is reportedly shot down today morning, Russians are claiming it was a Ukrainian aircraft. So there are claims and counterclaims on both sides. But as far as anti-aircraft capabilities of Ukraine or anti-missile capability are concerned, it is really, really very low. And that is the reason Zelensky is going on his knees asking for closing the skies over Ukraine and asking for modern anti-aircraft system, because without this, they cannot sustain this war for too long, and this will keep dragging on, and more soldiers will keep dying in this war. Shiv.
Very, very, very true. Rajesh and Gaurav, appreciate it. Please stay safe. We'll keep coming back to you. Eyes and ears right there on the ground. The only reporters reporting factually and from the actual war zone in Ukraine are Gaurav and Rajesh. Thanks very much for being with us. Joining us live now, also getting you voices from the war zone, from the country itself, is the government, the leadership, the politicians of that country, because it is on their shoulders that the future of this country actually stands now. Yevgenia Kravchuk is a Ukrainian MP. She joins me live from Washington, D.C. Yevgenia, thank you very much for being with me. What do you think about what's happening in Mariupol, Yevgenia? It appears that this could be the first city in your country that's been maybe completely destroyed. I don't think there's anything left.
Well, basically in Mariupol, what we have now is the total genocide and humanitarian catastrophe. There are more than 170,000 of people who are still stuck in Mariupol with no food, not with lack food, but no food, literally no food. And the humanitarian corridor is available only for those who have private cars, but that's not a case. And the buses with food and water that were sent in from other cities of Ukraine are basically being stopped by Russian soldiers. We think that it's a matter of days. I would think when we would have the most part of these people just die in hunger. Basically, what you would see on the streets of Mariupol, it's dead bodies, piles of dead bodies. People do not even bury them because there are so many so many dead people, and the municipal local government can't bury all of them. Basically, what other things are happening, that, for example, yesterday in the hospital where kids, small children, stayed in the hospital, Russians just came and kidnapped them and took them to Russia. And we don't know what's going on with these kids, and most of them had their parents killed. Over the 40,000 of people of Ukraine were forcibly kidnapped into Russia, and now they are put into the camps, sorting camps, and they are also being sent to other territories of Russia, and they get this paper saying that they cannot leave the territory of Russia for 2 years. So that's basically a deportation of thousands of people.
Yevgenia, stay with me. I just want to play out for both you and for our reporters. You're in Washington, D.C. You're in touch with what's happening in your country. We've got our reporters on the ground who've also been adding to what's happening in there, and we value that very much because our reports are first-hand reports. We're not depending on the versions of agencies or anyone else. 33 days ago, the port city of Mariupol that Yevgenia, you were talking about, was bustling. It was a beautiful city. Today, it's literally full of corpses. There are cemeteries on the roads. A thriving city has been turned virtually entirely into dust. There's not a single building standing completely that's been left untouched by Russian shelling and missile attacks. Mariupol is now on the verge of complete doom. Take a look at what it looked like earlier and what it looks like now.
Over 3,000 killed. Thousands forcibly taken to Russia as prisoners. Many more injured. No building standing without damage. This is the horrifying story of Mariupol. The Ukrainian city of 5.5 lakh, now in absolute ruins. The destruction is near total. Bombarded, hit with missiles, struck with massive airstrikes relentlessly. The sprawling port city of Mariupol has been wasted by Russian heavy artillery fire. Its once plush and picturesque neighborhoods now unrecognizable and reduced to ghost towns. Many streets are seen littered with unclaimed corpses and civilians killed in airstrikes. Ukraine has also accused Moscow of forcibly moving out over 40,000 citizens from Mariupol to Russia without consent from Ukrainian government. The port city, lying in direct line of Russian fire and invasion, has seen toddlers and newborns dying in Russian attacks. Hundreds had perished earlier when Russia bombed a theatre where civilians had taken shelter. Russia has been accused of using super powerful bombs after trapping nearly 2 lakh people and denying them safe passage. France has also raised concerns over the humanitarian catastrophe in Mariupol and called for urgent international intervention. French Foreign Minister called Mariupol the new Aleppo, drawing parallels with the total destruction of the Syrian city.
Mariupol, c'est la guerre des sièges, dans laquelle
Mariupol is a siege war that Russia has been entering for a month now. And siege warfare is horrible warfare since civilian populations are being massacred and annihilated.
Ukrainian President Zelensky slammed Russian forces for targeting civilians, including bombing a school sheltering women and children.
Destroyed schools, churches, houses. All the people are killed, and all the children are killed. The air bomb on the maternity hospital is the final proof that the genocide of the Ukrainians is taking place.
Half of Mariupol's population is still trapped, becoming victims of President Putin's war game. And time is running out for Mariupol real fast. Bureau Report, India Today.
Everyone's asking practically every day, will there be a big escalation in the days to come? Ukraine's armed forces say that Russian troops are attempting to advance into Kyiv. We've heard that before. It's been happening for weeks together, but they haven't actually entered the city. The Russians have also said, we don't even want Kyiv. We don't want Kharkiv. We're just hitting these cities from the outside to distract the Ukrainians. Our actual attention is in the eastern part of the country, which, remember, Russia already dominates. So is there a plan to capture the metropolitan capital of Ukraine or not? We try and answer that here.
The raging battle for capital city Kyiv continues, and Moscow is increasing both intensity of attacks and ferocity of weaponry, aiming to make the phase 2 of the ongoing war even deadlier. Russian troops are attempting to advance on Kyiv from the northwest and the east, capturing nearby roads and villages. But Ukraine is not backing down. Russian forces are currently being held back by Ukrainian fightback in outskirts of Kyiv.
Early this morning, there was intense shelling reported from the north, northeast and west, 3 directions in Kyiv, and that is where the Russian forces are reportedly advancing. So initially there was a feeling that there would be a lull since negotiations are happening, but there appears to be an intensification in the operations that are being carried out by the Russians.
Villages surrounding Kyiv, including Bayshiv, Stoyanka and Sitnyaki, are in ruins. Their infrastructure damaged, buildings destroyed and streets deserted.
The workers are still working and they're making sure that in case of any heavy bombardment in this area in Sofia Square, this statue, which is an ancient statue, is a heritage of the city, is protected. and is not damaged in any kind of air attacks from the Russian forces.
Destroyed tanks, armored vehicles dot the landscape, indicating a massive trail of destruction. India today met a group of US war veterans who have arrived in Kyiv to help Ukraine fight back.
So, Marshall, incidentally, is a combat veteran. He's had extensive tours of duty overseas with the US Armed Forces. John, you're helping as a volunteer. What do you do?
So I'm actually bringing donations from Canada. I'll be volunteering at the Manica border crossing, just helping refugees. I passed through there a couple days ago. They definitely need all the assistance that they can get, 100%.
Despite continued attacks from Kyiv, some residents of Kyiv who fled the capital city are slowly returning home. Local churches becoming rallying points for residents. With Gaurav Sawant and Rajesh Pawar in Kyiv war zone, Bureau Report, India Today.
So that's our report from Kyiv. Remember, the Russians have said they've been attacking Kyiv and other cities to distract and tie down the Ukrainian armed forces in order to allow the Russians to focus their attention on the east, which is their real military objective. That's what the Russians say. You don't have to believe them, but that's what they say. India Today is the only channel reporting from the eastern part of Ukraine as well, bringing you both sides of the war. We're also on the Russian side. Geeta Mohan is our foreign affairs editor. She's traveled from Moscow to the border areas of Ukraine and then crossed into Donetsk, where she currently is the only Indian reporter, and she sent us this.
We're right here in the Donetsk city, and we can hear sounds of explosion. There you hear it, sounds of explosion that's taking place not so far away from here, but in the outskirts. In some time from now, we will be reporting from there. But certainly a worry for people, most of them inside. If you see the city, if Satya can show you, hardly any people around, no people, and the fact that there massive explosions here. President Putin had said that the military operations over here will intensify, and from the day we arrived here, we certainly hear more sounds of explosion. With video journalist Satya Outrage, in Donetsk, Geeta Mohan for India Today. We are here in the heart of Donetsk city. This is the Artima street, and if you can see all the malls, the major restaurants, clubs, all of these places have been shut down. They're shut because of the situation on the ground. Only a few bare minimum grocery stores, some of the shopping centers are open. All the rest are absolutely shut with no products to sell. No people over here actually to come and buy the products. With the journalist Satya Outrage in Donetsk, Geeta Mohan for India Today.
And two fearless reporters who've been reporting from two different parts of the country. Geeta Mohan, our foreign affairs editor, who just sent us this report, is in the city of Donetsk in the eastern part of Ukraine, and Maria Pysarenko has been reporting from Ukraine's capital of Kyiv. Both of them joined me live just now. Geeta, to you first. You're reporting just a couple of days after the Russian government and Ministry of Defense said that their attacks on the other parts of Ukraine, Kyiv and Kharkiv and the rest of it, have all just been a distraction. Their basic focus and military objective are the places where you are reporting from right now. Is that really the case? What are you sensing on the ground?
Well, absolutely. That is certainly the sense that I get from the ground over here, Shiv. The eastern part of Ukraine, the Donbas region, is certainly the focus point for the Russian administration, not just to take control, but also to ensure what they're saying, independence of the two areas of Donetsk and Luhansk. Demands of the Russian side in the
negotiations have become harsher and harder. They are looking at Ukraine, one, recognizing Crimea as part of Russia and recognizing Donetsk and Luhansk as independent republics. It is going to be a difficult negotiation that is going to begin in Turkey, Shiv. And even as we say that, outside of Donetsk, the fight is fierce in Marinka and in Mariupol. Cities that we've already shown visuals of, absolutely devastated, huge loss of life and huge loss of and damage to property. So it continues, and we continue to hear explosions through and through. So there is massive gun battle on, whether it's shelling or man-to-man combat, which is gun battle in certain parts.
And we heard the explosions in that report that you sent us. So please stay safe, Geeta. We'll keep coming back to you. Stay with me for the moment if you're able to. Maria is with us live from Kyiv. Maria, you heard what the Russian government had said, that they don't plan to take Kyiv. They had no intention of taking Kyiv, but the attacks on the city are still very much happening. What are you seeing around you in the capital?
Right. So today, for example, we woke up to the news that at night a Russian missile, which was hit by Ukrainian air defense system, fell onto yet again one more situation of such circumstances. The missile fell onto the residential building, and we have seen again the devastation, the destruction, the debris of residential house lying all around. So again and again, Russians continue their tactics of striking missiles at residential areas. And if they say that they do not have any plan of taking Kyiv and attacking Kyiv, then the question arises why they target missiles at residential quarters of Kyiv. So this is what we see. Of course, I should point out that several recent days were pretty peaceful in Kyiv. Kyiv is trying to get back to normal life economically, so some businesses are trying to get back to work. But of course, we can't say that the all life, returns to living as normal, because we still have Russians in our country and around our capital city. And the latest news are really, good news for Ukrainian army, for the Ukrainians, that Irpin, the city to the north of Kyiv, has been liberated from Russians. We have seen the report that 30% of city during the previous days was under control of Russians. So they were here and there on the outskirts also of Irpin, but 70% were under control of Ukrainian army. And just hours ago, the mayor of city, Mr. Markushin, announced that Irpin is now free of Russians. So heavy battles had happened there, and now the city is under full control of Ukrainian army. And we see that our forces, the Ukrainian army forces, are successful in getting back, in regaining control of these suburban areas of Kyiv to the north. So we see that Russian plan of encirclement of city is also, again, not true. And what is surprising, and at the same time not surprising, that Russians do try to switch their rhetoric and saying that, oh, we do not plan even to take Kyiv. Oh, we do not plan to do so and so, just because they see that they are not successful in their tactics. And right now they're trying, to show their influence at least somewhere. So, of course, here's the expectations of the military experts, of people I spoke to here in Kyiv who monitor the situation. They say that it looks like Russians will try to focus their forces in the southern parts of Ukraine. So from Crimea, it is easy for them to draw more troops to Kherson, to Mykolaiv. Right now, Kherson is under control of Russians, unfortunately. So they will try to keep the control there. And of course, they will have to move away from Kyiv, because the fight back of the Ukrainian army is now very strong and they can't handle it, despite the expectations of Russians to be very successful in this direction.
I certainly hope. I was happy to hear you say that the last few days were a little normal in Kyiv, and I hope that prevails. Nobody wants this to become a worse situation, no matter which way we look at it. I hope that things calm down in Kyiv. I hope that things calm down in Donetsk. I hope there's a diplomatic situation. But I think all three of us can agree, Geeta and Maria, that it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. We'll have to see where it goes. Please stay safe. We'll keep coming back to you. Thank you for getting us that first-hand view from the ground in Ukraine. Now, the current president of the United States of America, you know who I'm talking about, is known to shoot his mouth off at times which are pretty inappropriate. And on the matter of the Ukraine war and its perpetrator, Vladimir Putin, Joe Biden has been saying things that his staff have been scrambling to firefight and do damage control for. From war criminal to regime change, Biden has said it all. Apparently, ad-libbed. He improvised in a scripted speech as he strayed from this carefully drafted speech. The diplomatic fallout of such comments is naturally serious because when a US president says something like, I want to change the Russian government in a public speech, it can rarely be taken back. And believe me, this is Cold War 2.0. That is the current atmosphere.
It was Saturday in Ukraine when the bombs began falling on Lviv to the west of the country. The city had seen relative calm over the month of war, but the strikes at a fuel depot sent smoke and flames billowing into the air. At about the same time, around 400 kilometers further west, President Joe Biden of USA was meeting Ukrainian refugees at the National Stadium of Poland in Warsaw. When reporters asked him what he thought of President Putin of Russia, the US president said he's a butcher.
You see this and you're dealing every day with Vladimir Putin. I mean, look at what he's done to these people. What does it make you think? He's a butcher.
If Putin was sending a message to Biden by bombing Western Ukraine because the US president was in neighboring Poland, then Biden too had a message for Putin later that evening.
Over the last 30 years, the forces of autocracy.
It was a much-awaited speech from one who is called the leader of the free world. At the end of his 3-day visit to Europe, in the backdrop of the raging war to his east, President Joe Biden's words would in effect indicate the direction Western strategy would take in the days to come. For 27 minutes, the President of the United States spoke, showing full support for Ukraine and drawing out the parameters of Western response to Russian action. And then suddenly, 27 minutes later, at the very end of his speech, he dropped an ad-libbed bombshell.
Russia's choice. We will have a different future, a brighter future, rooted in democracy and principle, hope and light, of decency and dignity, of freedom and possibilities. For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power. God bless you all, and may God defend our freedom.
Those 9 ad-libbed words, for God's sake, this man cannot remain in power, set off alarm bells all over the diplomatic world. It had US officials scrambling to damage control, and Secretary of State Antony Blinken clarified that regime change in Russia was not on US agenda.
Made the point last night that
But this was typical Joe Biden. He had often been accused of letting his mouth run away from prudence. During his 2008 campaign for presidential nomination, Biden had described another contender as the first mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean and a nice-looking guy. That contender was Barack Obama, whose running mate he later became and stayed vice president during the Obama presidency. On Ukraine, as president of the United States, Joe Biden had been building up to getting his words get the better of US policy.
I think he is a war criminal.
Will you be meeting with him?
In the matter of a week, Biden had not only called Putin a war criminal, he also referred to him as a murderous dictator, a pure thug who is waging an immoral war against the people of Ukraine. He said the Russian invasion of Ukraine was inhuman. Some of what Joe Biden sometimes says is considered nothing more important than a gaffe. Like when he said Iranian instead of Ukrainian during his State of the Union address on 1st of March.
Putin may circle Kyiv with tanks, but he'll never gain the hearts and souls of the Iranian people.
But there are times when the seasoned politician that he is, his verbal slip-ups may actually be pointing to how things really are. But then, as the President of the United States, he knows the weight his words carry. During his presidential campaign, Joe Biden often told his audience how the words of a president can matter when they can send men and women to war, and how they can also bring peace.
And coming up, perhaps the only other really world-dominating headline apart from the Ukraine crisis today, Slapgate from the Oscars. You couldn't possibly have missed what happened on stage. Well, in the small chance that you did, don't miss what's coming up. We've got the full video, before, after, and that infamous slap that Chris Rock took from Will Smith.
You are what?
She's the wife of Ukraine's President Zelensky, and she fears for the safety of her husband. In a written exchange from an undisclosed location with a media house, the 44-year-old revealed that she calls her husband every morning, but only after praying for his well-being. Meet Olena Zelenska, the First Lady of Ukraine. She is the wife of the Ukrainian president, and she has been standing like a strong pillar by his side during these shattering moments of the war. Olena was born in the same city where President Zelensky was raised. She and Zelensky were schoolmates, but they were not acquainted then. Zelensky once said that he knew many of her classmates, but not Zelenska herself. They got to know each other much later when Zelenska was studying at the Faculty of Civil Engineering at Kryvyi Rih National University. She reportedly had a boyfriend at the time, and he was busy trying to make a career in comedy. It is said that it was comedy that united them. Olena was a scriptwriter, and Zelensky is one of the founders at Quartal 95. It is a leading provider of entertainment TV content in Ukraine. Later, Zelensky got her on board as the scriptwriter. Zelenska was one of the writers of the show Servant of the People. The relationship between the couple developed gradually. They dated for 8 years before getting married on 6th September 2003. On 15th July 2004, their daughter Alexandra was born. On 21st January 2013, Zelenska gave birth to their son. Zelenska became the First Lady of Ukraine on 20th May 2019 with Volodymyr's elect. In an interview, she said, and I quote, "I am a non-public person. I prefer staying backstage. My husband is always on the forefront, while I feel more comfortable in the shade. I am not the life of the party, and I do not like to tell jokes." Olena has been a part of many social causes. Her first initiative talked about nutrition reform in Ukrainian schools. In December 2019, during a speech at the 3rd Ukrainian Women's Congress, Zelenska initiated Ukraine's accession to the G7 International Initiative on Gender Equality. She also started an initiative to spread the Ukrainian language in the world and the introduction of Ukrainian language audio guides in the most iconic places, in particular in the largest museums in the world. Zelenska has been drawing attention to the plight of women and children too. She is considered as one of Ukraine's most influential women. In December 2019, Zelenska was included in the list of the 100 most influential Ukrainians by Focus magazine, taking 30th place. Zelensky's family came to the spotlight when Ukrainian president opened up about him being his enemy's target number 1 and his family being target number 2. The proclamation drew attention to the plight of his family, First Lady Olena Zelenska and the couple's 2 young children.
When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism. This is Ukraine's true danger zone. Up close and fearless in Ukraine's combat zone. When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism.
You are watching India Today.
In the very small chance that you haven't seen the video that's made all the headlines from the 94th Academy Awards, where a slapgate happened on stage in front of millions of viewers, then there's nothing that I can possibly say that's going to prepare you for it. So watch this report.
Oh, wow.
Will Smith may have won the Best Actor award at the 2022 Oscars, but it is this action performance that he will be remembered for. The actor lost his cool at comedian Chris Rock during the ceremony as he went straight up on the stage and smacked him after Rock made a joke at Smith's wife Jada Pinkett Smith.
Wow!
The altercation did not stop there. Smith went back to his seat and yelled at Rock thereafter, telling him to keep his wife's name out of his mouth.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your f***ing mouth!
I'm going to, okay? Okay.
All this happened when Rock appeared on stage to present the Oscar for documentary feature. He made a joke about Will's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, being in G.I. Jane because of her shaved bald head. Now, if you jog your memory, last December, Jada Pinkett Smith had opened about her struggles with alopecia.
Y'all know I've been struggling with alopecia.
Revealing that she had decided to shave her head instead of constantly dealing with hair loss. So it goes without saying, when Rock passed a comment about her, it didn't go down well with Smith.
I love you.
During the commercial break, Smith was seen being comforted by Denzel Washington and Tyler Perry. Washington apparently told Smith, "At your highest moment, be careful. That's when the devil comes for you." Despite the assault on Chris Rock, Smith attended the full ceremony, but apologized when he won the Best Actor trophy.
I want to apologize to the Academy. I want to apologize to all my fellow nominees. It's not about winning an award for me. It's about being able to shine light.
Uh-oh, Richard.
Emotions were clearly running high at this ceremony. Entertainment Bureau, India Today.
Oh, wow.
Well, Will Smith apologized, but not to Chris Rock directly. So we don't know where that's going. We'll wait and keep you posted on that. That's it on News Track. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow night. Up next, it's News Today with Rajdeep.
Protège la queue de détente à l'intérieur, qu'il faut être le plus réactif possible. Donc déjà la prise en main de l'arme.
From unemployed civilians to engineers, several French volunteers have been training to fight the Russian invasion. Many civilians expressed their interest to fight for Ukraine on Facebook. A French former soldier is training civilians for the battle.
Je voyais pas mal de personnes sur des groupes, notamment de Facebook, qui décidaient de partir en Ukraine sans aucune expérience, comme ça sur un coup de tête. pensais que ma meilleure façon à moi de contribuer à ça, de les aider, c'était de leur donner un petit vernis. Voilà, justement de ne pas les laisser partir à l'aventure comme ça et de leur apprendre vraiment la base du combat.
For the French civilians, war isn't a common sight. They will not only be facing the strong Russian military, but also signs of ruined buildings and bombed regions.
Même si je suis totalement prêt, je veux aller là-bas en connaissance de cause, en étant prêt, du coup, à sacrifier ma vie, en sachant que je reviendrai pas forcément. Mais après, le problème, c'est que là, j'ai l'impression que si j'y vais, je vais y aller un peu pour rien et que je vais mourir dans les premiers instants et que ça va servir à absolument rien du tout.
As the volunteers are learning about challenges of war, many of them are realizing that training for war isn't easy. As a result, volunteers who are facing the realities of the battlefield are becoming hesitant or giving up.
Ma première idée, c'était peut-être d'aller aider les Ukrainiens en tant que combattant, mais je pense que mon camarade, après avoir un petit peu réfléchi, je pense que ce serait pas forcément une bonne idée, n'ayant pas forcément d'expérience militaire sur le terrain. Et je me suis plutôt orienté vers l'humanitaire. Donc faire une formation comme ça peut toujours servir, je pense, pour l'humanitaire sur place, parce qu'on ne sait jamais ce qui peut arriver.
In the face of challenges, volunteers are wondering what would happen if an attack were to happen in France.
Malgré les attentats, malgré le fait que la France soit engagée sur différents terrains à l'extérieur, j'ai jamais eu, en tout cas jamais ressenti ce besoin de me former. C'est simplement la situation actuelle, ce climat géopolitique actuel qui m'a fait me poser des questions en me disant effectivement c'est arrivé en Ukraine, même si les choses sont un peu différentes, mais c'est arrivé en Ukraine très rapidement. On s'interroge aujourd'hui sur la capacité militaire de la France.
Since the war in Ukraine broke out, more than 20,000 foreigners have signed up to be part of the International Legion and International Army, and this serves as an indication of the world uniting against the Russian invasion. Janhvi Kapoor to Wani Kapoor, Matthew Perry to Ben Affleck. Where did they really all find love? They log on to this app called Raya, an exclusive dating app that's meant for the rich and the famous. Before you grab your phones to try your luck at matching these celebrities, let's give you a fair warning here. This dating app has a waiting list of lakhs of people who want in. What makes Raya so special? Unlike Tinder, Bumble or Hinge, Raya is a private, membership-based community for people all over the world to connect and collaborate. It is an invite-only dating app launched in 2015 by US-based Daniel Gendelman. It is elite, exclusive and requires interested users to fill out an elaborate application. Who can join the Raya Club? If you want to swipe right immediately, then please hold on to your horses there. You can only use this service if you have been invited by an existing member and approved by an anonymous membership committee. After filling out this form, the users are either accepted or rejected or put on a waiting list. In fact, 1 lakh users are already waiting to join this dating app. You heard that right? Only about 8% of all applications so far have been accepted. Here's the cherry on top. The app is available only on iOS devices. Well, love certainly is not free, and you guessed it right. This app isn't free either. It charges a monthly subscription of 2,000 rupees. In fact, one person even offered $10,000 in cash only in order to get an entry into this app. Yep, the hype is real. Now, Raya and its filmy connection. Initially, Raya debuted as a simple dating app, but gradually it transformed into a thick-walled, membership-based dating community for members of the entertainment industry. Today, it is dubbed as Hollywood's exclusive dating app. It is used not just by famous movie stars, but also some top models, professional athletes, internet celebrities, fashion designers, and several other well-known people.
You are watching India Today.
The West could not put the fear of God in Putin, but restored to second-hand arm twisting through slapping heavy economic sanctions. Putin saw this and tagged it as West declaring war. But President Biden says Putin chose this war. Putin is not the only one affected here. Russian oligarchs are also coming under fire. The allegation against these oligarchs is that they siphoned billions of dollars off Putin's regime and stashed them elsewhere.
We're adding dozens of names to the list, including one of Russia's wealthiest billionaires, and I'm banning travel to America by more than 50 Russian oligarchs, their families, and their close associates.
These oligarchs are businessmen from the former Soviet republics who rapidly accumulated wealth during the era of Russian privatization after the fall of the Soviet Union back in the 1990s. Not just the United States, the United Kingdom and the European Union followed suit in slapping unprecedented sanctions against key figures in the Moscow elite. Even countries long known for harboring assets with few questions asked, such as Switzerland and Monaco, have joined in with the measures. Lawmakers, high-ranking military officers, prominent journalists, tycoons and finance chiefs have also been targeted. Their financial assets have been frozen and some measures also ban them from entering the sanctioning nations. Now, those high-profile individuals who've been affected through these sanctions include Nikolay Tokarev, the president of oil and gas giant Transneft, Rostec defense firm chief Sergei Chemizov, or VEB development bank head Igor Shevalov.
I think it is the end of an era, quite apart from anything else. The position of any oligarchs who have close links to President Putin is going to be, I think, impossible for the future in view of the public reaction to what President Putin is doing. That was one of the problems in the first place. It was obvious that many of these people were keeping very close links with the Russian state and indeed, therefore, could do President Putin's work for him. All that, I think, has been completely blown apart.
In the United States, for instance, a task force named Kleptocapture is pursuing the oligarchs' assets. Billionaire industrialists Oleg Deripaska and Mikhail Friedman, a founder of Russia's largest private bank, both have urged to end Putin's war. Both of them are on the sanctions list of the United States and the EU respectively. The change in their tune is quite evident now as they're feeling the hurt of sanctions squeezing them. Let me give you another example here of how these oligarchs are jumping ship in panic. Another billionaire businessman and close associate of Putin, Roman Abramovich, has now put his British soccer club up for sale and vowed to donate all those proceeds to all victims of the war in Ukraine. The oligarchs are now feeling the hurt, and it's probably the West's biggest win as they have a very important role in Putin's Russia. Why? Because they provide invaluable support to Putin's regime, lead key companies and institutions, and also help conceal the president's own enormous wealth. Although their assets are frozen, they're not likely to starve to death. They are definitely going to miss that luxurious lifestyle. This will probably be, indeed, their social death.
When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism.
You are watching.
Presented by Star Health Insurance, the health insurance specialist. Co-presented by JK Pancharghat Tire. Ab hawa nahi niklegi. Co-presented by Fujitsu General, the extreme machine. Powered by Greenply, India's first zero-emission plywood. In association with Kia Carens. It's from a different world.
Hello and welcome. You're with the news today, your primetime destination. News, newsmakers, talking points. What are the big headlines this Monday night? Let's start with the 9 headlines at 9. The opposition moves a no-confidence motion against Imran Khan in the Pakistan Assembly. Imran claims there's a foreign conspiracy to destabilize his government. Army yet to take a public stand on the vote as time seems running out for Imran Khan. Russia continues to rain fury on Ukraine on day 33 of invasion. Face-to-face negotiations between both countries in Turkey likely tomorrow. Total mayhem in the West Bengal Assembly. BJP claims TMC MLAs assaulted their legislators for demanding a discussion on the Birbhum massacre. 5 BJP lawmakers, including leader Shubhendu Adhikari, are suspended. Shocker in Uttar Pradesh's Kushinagar, a mob allegedly lynches a BJP worker who was a Muslim for celebrating Yogi Adityanath's win and chanting Jai Shri Ram. Chief Minister Yogi orders a probe. The Kashmir files face-off escalates. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal lambasts the BJP for politics over the film. Says the centre failed to rehabilitate pundits now doing politics over their pain, and India Today exclusive. Pramod Sawant takes oath as Goa Chief Minister for a second time. Prime Minister Narendra Modi along with BJP top brass attend the swearing-in. Controversial MLA Anastasia Montserrat among those who's made a minister. Multiplex operators PVR and Inox announce a blockbuster deal. The merged company will be named PVR Inox, will create India's largest film exhibition entity with over 1,500 screens. Over 800 essential medicines, including paracetamol, to get costlier from April 1. National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority allows a price hike by more than 10%. And high drama at the 94th Academy Award. Will Smith throws a punch at Chris Rock for a joke on his wife. Wins Best Actor Award for King Richard.
Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the out of it.
But our top story tonight comes from across the border, where today a no-confidence motion has been moved in the Pakistan Assembly against Prime Minister Imran Khan. The Pakistan Prime Minister is now battling for survival, with the opposition tabling that no-confidence motion in the Assembly. Imran Khan's fate will be decided now by many of his allies, who simply appear to be waiting for a final cue from the Pakistani army. As always, the army could decide what happens next in Pakistan. It's our top story tonight.
Imran Khan's government in Pakistan is fighting for survival. On Monday, the Pakistan National Assembly allowed a no-confidence motion
through this resolution
moved by PMLN leader Shahbaz Sharif. The Assembly will take up the motion on Thursday, and numbers don't look too good for the cricketer turned politician.
This House resolves that it has no confidence in the Prime Minister, Mr. Imran Khan Niazi.
Pakistani National Assembly has 342 members. Imran needs 172 votes to defeat the motion. Imran Khan's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf has 155 lawmakers. Khan is supported by the Muttahida Qawmi Movement Pakistan with its 7 members. Imran's other allies have 14 seats. The chances of Imran surviving the trust appears bleak. At least 24 of Khan's own party members could vote against him. To add to his woes, 3 allies with 17 seats have already joined the opposition. The opposition has 162 members. It needs the vote of just 10 lawmakers to oust Imran. Ahead of the no-confidence motion, in a mega show of strength, Imran Khan organized a rally in Islamabad. Khan claimed foreign powers are conspiring to topple his 3-year-old government.
मेरा दिल से मैं इल्जामात नहीं लगा रहा. मेरे पास जो ये खत है, ये सबूत है. हमारे मुल्क में बाहर से पैसे की मदद से हुकूमत तब्दील करने की कोशिश की जा रही है.
While taking on the opposition, Imran surprisingly praised India and Bangladesh.
अगर हम उस अज़मत पे नहीं पहुंच सके, बहुत बड़ी वजह उसकी ये चोर हुक्मरान जिन्होंने 30 साल से इस मुल्क को लूटा है. जब ये 2 करप्ट खानदान इस मुल्क के ऊपर हावी हुए हैं, हर चीज में हम पीछे रह गए. सारे बर्रे सगीर में हिंदुस्तान आगे निकल गया. बांग्लादेश से हम इतना आगे थे कि कोई तस्वर भी नहीं कर सकता था कि बांग्लादेश भी एक दिन हमारे से आगे निकल जाएगा.
Imran's biggest concern is that he seems to have lost the trust of the all-powerful Pakistan army. If he loses the trust vote, Imran will go down in history as the first Prime Minister to be ousted in the assembly. But then, no Prime Minister has completed a full 5-year term in Pakistan. Bureau Report, India Today.
And my first guest tonight on the top story is Najam Sethi, editor of Friday Times in Pakistan and the country's leading analyst of political affairs. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. Sethi. My big question to you, is it end game Imran Khan, or do you believe like a cat he can survive yet again?
Well, until a few hours ago, it did seem that it was curtains for him, but there's been some late developments. Imran Khan has tried to rope his allies back into the fold. He's offered one set of allies the governorship of Sindh province, and he's offered the other one the chief ministership of Punjab. This happened only about 2 hours ago. And the vote of no confidence has already been launched and is due to be held in about 7 days' time. And now at the nth minute, when these allies are supposed to be joining the opposition, they seem to be about to switch sides. And if that happens, then it's going to be a very close call.
You're saying it's going to be a close call, but many believe, at least observers in India believe, that it's eventually the army that will take a call whether...
No, I don't think they're an active player now. I think the very fact that they've pulled out from supporting him is seen by the opposition as activity or active. So therefore, Imran Khan can't survive without the army support. And for the first time, he's now having to stand on his own feet, which is why he's now running around trying to woo friends and allies. So far, the army has stayed away from these new developments. And that's what's upsetting him. They're saying, we want to be neutral, you guys sort this out amongst yourselves, which is what has emboldened the opposition to go for Imran. And so right now, the army's staying out of it. One doesn't know what happens in 7 days' time, how close it will be, and who will receive a phone call and who will not receive a phone call. It's a bit difficult to say right now.
But what's your sense? Why has it gone so horribly wrong for Imran Khan? In 2018, comes to power, talks of a Naya Pakistan, but we are seeing now Imran Khan claiming there's a foreign conspiracy against him. What's gone wrong? Is the fault lie with Imran Khan, or is it that the opposition has just smelled blood?
No, it's entirely Imran's fault. For 4 years, he's not focused on governance. He's focused on trying to eliminate the opposition. And he hasn't succeeded in eliminating the opposition, and nor has he succeeded in giving good governance. The net result of that has been that the army that brought him to power has been, now the opposition and people are holding it responsible for bringing this gentleman in. And instead of the focus on Imran Khan, the wrath of the masses and the opposition has now turned their guns onto the people who brought him and the people who propped him up. So I think because most of the army rank and file comes from Punjab province, which is now Nawaz Sharif's favorite hunting ground, that's where the sentiment has turned against the army. And they've never felt anything like this before. So I think there was an institutional decision to step back from supporting Imran so that they don't get bad mouths anymore. And I think that has led to this crisis. And now I think they've crossed the Rubicon. It seems very difficult for them to go back to stop propping him up again and then opening themselves up to a bad mouthing by the opposition and people again. So that's where we stand today. Now their attitude is, okay, you guys sort it out amongst themselves. And if you guys can't sort it out amongst yourselves, you will have yourselves to blame. And then, well, we don't know what we'll do later.
No, so are we heading for instability? Are we heading for the return of the Sharifs? Is Pakistan heading into another spell of possible instability?
Well, either the vote of no confidence against Imran will succeed. That will be followed by a government led by Shahbaz Sharif, younger brother of Nawaz Sharif, in Islamabad. That government will hang around for a few months and then order fresh elections. And if all goes well according to the current prognosis for the Muslim League, they will win the next elections too. And then there will be stability, because then they will be in for 5 years and there will be stability. On the other hand, if Imran survives this round, the chances are that the opposition is not going to go back to the drawing room. They will keep hammering away at him. There'll be another vote of no confidence in 3 months' time. And if the army continues to stay away from propping up the government, it's only a matter of time before Islamabad is wrapped up, one way or another.
But let me come back to what I asked earlier about Naya Pakistan. You know, there was talk that here was Imran Khan who was going to stop the looting of Pakistan that he believed that the Bhuttos and the Sharifs had carried out. He was seen as the knight on a white horse who was going to change Pakistan. You're now talking about the governance deficit. You've got serious economic crises. Is it that Pakistan itself is ungovernable, or Imran...
And so that is what has upset a lot of people, that instead of running a good, clean ship, it's been the other way around. His cronies have indulged in corruption. There are massive scandals brewing, and they will doubtless come out as soon as he's deposed. And the media has not been terribly friendly because he's been very repressive. There's never been a worse time for the media than under Imran Khan. And so therefore now he's begun to take a populist position that is alienating many of Pakistan's international allies and friends. And Pakistan is ending up in a state of isolation internationally. So this is all very, very alarming as far as the establishment is concerned. And I think for this reason, Imran has not delivered at all. His arrogance has stood in the way. He had no experience of governance. He was only concerned with trying to victimize and knock out the opposition, in which he didn't succeed. The courts didn't support him. The so-called institutional watchdogs failed to come up with the goods, and so on. So it's been a failure all round.
So am I to call him the god that failed, the man who led Pakistan to a World Cup triumph, the man who, as I said, vowed to topple 30 years of misgovernance of the Bhuttos and the Sharifs? Are you saying he's the god that fell? In your voice, I sense complete disillusionment, Najam Sethi.
I am completely disillusioned, and I'm not the only one. Of course, the country was divided. Originally, we thought that he hadn't won the election and that the election had been won for him. And I think that's what we still feel. And then on top of that, a lot of people said, okay, it doesn't matter. Let's give him a chance, see if he can deliver the goods. And when that didn't happen, a lot of his own people have now become alienated. And there is enormous rage amongst the masses for the lack of governance and the corruption that has characterized his regime. It's been a singular failure. And yes, I suppose you could say that this is the god that failed.
May I, a final question. How do you see it from an Indian? If I were to look at it from an Indian perspective, is Imran still the person whom India should want continuing as possibly a lame duck prime minister, or do you believe the Sharifs would be a better option, the Bhuttos, or simply army rule once again? What from an Indian perspective given, and I'm looking from a perspective of having a stable neighborhood, do you believe is the best option for New Delhi at the moment?
Well, I think I'll put it like this. There was a time when Nawaz Sharif wanted to normalize relations with India, and the establishment didn't want to do that. And there was a time when the establishment wants to normalize relations, not just with India, but with the United States and the Europeans as well. Mm-hmm. And Imran Khan, who was already on board, has now decided that the populist thing to do when he's drowning is to clutch at religion and anti-India and anti-America populism, which is where we are today.
So you're saying that Imran Khan has moved from being someone who wanted good relations with India, I recall his first speech when he became Prime Minister, to now riding, you're saying, on anti-India, anti-American sentiment and promoting a kind of Islamism. Am I correct?
Yes, you're absolutely correct.
And you believe that this is not a battle that he can win, or it is a battle that is now subject to diminishing returns?
It's a battle that is subject to diminishing returns. Sooner or later, Imran Khan will be out of government. That is my prediction.
Okay, Najam Sethi speaking, as always, shooting from the hip. I appreciate your joining us and giving us a perspective on that big story on Imran Khan now facing a vote of no confidence in the Pakistan Assembly. Thanks very much. Let's turn to the top story domestically, where Bengal's culture of violent politics today reached the Assembly. The House today witnessed shameful scenes as Trinamool Congress and BJP MLAs clashed over last week's Birbhum massacre. 5 BJP MLAs, including their party leader Subhendu Adhikari, have now been suspended from the Assembly. Is Bengal politics reaching the point of no return? Here's a report.
Punches flying thick and fast as a squabble turned into an all-out violent fight. This was what played out in the Bengal Assembly on Monday. Punches amidst the pandemonium over a heated debate over the Birbhum violence. And soon enough, the blame game over who resorted to such shameful scenes in the Assembly broke out, with the Trinamool and BJP pointing fingers at each other. The video tweeted by the BJP's Amit Malviya shows a BJP MLA accusing other MLAs of pushing him and tearing open his shirt.
मुख्यमंत्री का हम लोग यहाँ पर विबृति चाह रहे थे, जो घटना घटा रामपुर हाट में हम लोग स्पीकर को बोल रहे थे, लेकिन टीएमसी के कुछ गुंडा विधायक आकर के सब मेरा शर्ट ये सब छीट दिया यहाँ पर हमको धक्का मारा, घूसी मारा.
BJP MLAs also staged a protest outside the Assembly, claiming they were attacked for highlighting the Birbhum violence.
बाहर का जो माहौल है, गांव का जो माहौल है, जो गुंडागर्दी रामपुर हाट में भादु शेख अनारुल हुसैन ने कर रहा था, ठीक अंदर में भी एक ही हालत बना दिया. तृणमूल पार्टी, पुलिस और आपने गुंडा एमएलए लेकर. एज ए लीडर ऑफ अपोजिशन आई विल सेंड माय रिटन कंप्लेंट टू द स्पीकर. जो आपका आंख का सामने ये सब हुआ, ये नहीं होना चाहिए. जो लोग किया है उसका खिलाफ हाउस का जो रूल है, रूल के अंदर कार्रवाई होना चाहिए.
Meanwhile, the Trinamool has hit back with a strong counter. This is MLA Asit Majumdar, who claimed he was punched repeatedly by BJP leaders, including Subhendu Adhikari in the Assembly.
আমাদের সিকিউরিটিদের মারছিল, আমি হাত জোর করে বারণ করতে গেছি, শুভেন্দু নিজে ঘুষি মারলো, আমার চশমা ভেঙে দিয়েছে. দেখুন, এই দেখুন চশমা ভেঙে দিয়েছে.
5 BJP MLAs, including Subhendu, have been suspended from the Assembly until further notice. The showdown in the Bengal Assembly meant no productive discussion on the horrifying Birbhum violence in the Assembly, as the BJP claimed the Trinamool refused to allow a debate in the House, a claim countered by the Trinamool.
जब लखीमपुर में इतनी बड़ी घटना होती है और वहाँ पर आपके पत्रकार से लेके किसान से लेके सबको मार दिया जाता है, और वो भी एक मंत्री का लड़का मारता है, उस समय प्रधानमंत्री जी चुप बैठे रहते हैं. फिर भी वो अगर बंगाल को लिए चिंतित है तो मैं उनसे आपके जरिए कहना चाहता हूँ जो यहाँ पर बंगाल के मुख्यमंत्री ममता बनर्जी है, जो सारे चीज़ करते हैं, जो एंटी सोशल कहीं भी वो भड़क सकता है, कहीं भी ये एक यहाँ पर रिएक्शन करते, मैं एंटी सोशल को पकड़ के कोर्ट के सामने लाना, ये हमारे बंगाल के प्रथा है और एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन बहुत इस जोरी के साथ इसका काम कर रही है।
The politics over the Birbhum violence has stooped to a new low with the scenes that unfolded inside the assembly. With claims and counterclaims emerging, the question remains who instigated the violence inside the assembly. With camera person Taposh Beri, this is Anupam Mishra for India Today in Kolkata.
So is the battle between the ruling Trinamool Congress and the opposition BJP in Bengal now rapidly reaching the point of no return? Joining me now, Saket Gokhale, TMC spokesperson, and Shazia Ilmi, the BJP spokesperson. Appreciate both of you joining us. Saket Gokhale, that direct question, is it reaching the point of no return to the point where today we've seen these disgraceful scenes in the West Bengal Assembly? Surely this is not the Sonar Bangla or the Pariborton that Mamata Banerjee promised all those years ago?
No, it's absolutely not. And it's definitely not Sonar Bangla, because for the simple reason that here you have a BJP trying to replicate a UP or a Gujarat inside the state of West Bengal. So this is definitely not what Bengal is. You know, this kind of hooliganism, the kind of Gundaism, the idea of, and when we talk about no return, you know, this is not just West Bengal. The BJP is doing this in Maharashtra. The BJP is doing this in a lot of other states. So the BJP obviously is a party that cannot, you know, practice what you call civil politics or go by how a democracy is supposed to function. Their idea is when you're defeated, you try and get back by hook or by crook, try and destabilize the state. They tried to do it in Maharashtra in the middle of COVID-19. So it is not surprising at all that, you know, after all the helplessness that the BJP is feeling after their defeat in West Bengal, they would resort to something as ugly as violence in the middle of an assembly. They would break the nose of an MLA.
But are you blaming? No. But the fact is, you have an overwhelming majority in the assembly. The BJP claims the hooliganism that we've seen in the assembly today, the assaults, were, according to them, initiated by the Trinamool Congress, which has the majority in the House. You have the muscle power in the House.
I have a question, Rajdeep. I have a question. When 7 terrorists attacked Bombay, we had an armed force of how many thousand people? So are we going to say it was instigated by the police or it was instigated by the terrorists at the end of the day? So the numbers don't matter here. A handful of miscreants are more than enough to start Gundaism, and that's what happened today. So the numbers, it's not about whether we are not the police of the assembly. I mean, we have MLAs in the assembly, and if numbers were just a comparison to ensure safety, then at the end of it, would you blame 7 terrorists or would you blame a police force of 10,000 people?
You know, Shazia Ilmi, there is a sense that what the BJP is attempting is playing politics over the dead bodies of people in Birbhum. What happened in Birbhum, tragic. Women dead, children dead, needs a full investigation, is now a CBI probe as ordered by the Calcutta High Court. But Shuvendu Adhikari, ex-TMC, and the BJP want to use this to somehow or the other push either for central intervention or create the impression of a breakdown in law and order in Bengal, and therefore you're playing politics over dead bodies. How do you respond?
You know, Rajdeep, I'm aghast at the nonchalance of this gentleman who doesn't even mention the charring to death of 6 women and 2 children. I mean, that actually happened, that gruesome, grisly murder and beating up and assault, and then the final burning and setting ablaze of the houses in Birbhum. And not just that, the top priority of the government at that point of time was to stop the leader of the opposition from visiting the site. And not just that, the fact of the matter is Anwarul Hussain, the TMC bloc president, who is known for the stirrings of violence, and there have been many charges against him. Instead of protecting him, the duty of Mamata Banerjee should have been to be out there and take responsibility for the carnage that took place. But here we are listening to this adorable speech about what BJP is doing.
There is a CBI probe. There is a CBI probe ordered by the Calcutta High Court, Why don't you allow the law to take its own course? It appears at the moment that at the slightest instance, the BJP wants to somehow or the other. It's a very tragic incident. Let's not play politics over dead bodies. It's very tragic what happened in Birbhum.
Yet nobody's talking about it. You know, there is the outrage over this charring to death of women and children is just sadly missing. And the politics is all that prevails, you know, on the face of it. What I want to say is Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary is a Congress MP, is not from the BJP at all. And he's asked for intervention. And he's talking about Article 355, and that the centre must intervene in matters of having an emergency provision. In matters of aggression, external aggression or internal
disturbance. Is that what the BJP also wants? No. Is that what the BJP wants, that the centre must now intervene?
No, I'm just saying that look at what is going on in West Bengal. So it's just not the BJP. It's even the Congress. It's beyond the party politics. It's beyond the ambit of it. There is something sinister going on there, which is a flagrant abuse of law. And the police has become some sort of a feudal army of this great dictator that we have here. And it's very strange. It's very strange.
Narendra Modi as Prime Minister, someone saying great dictator.
Well, not at all. I mean, don't even use the... It's not a talk, you know, let's not use semantics or rhetoric to counter each other's claims, but see what has happened.
It's not rhetoric. Can I give you
one minute, Saket Gokhale. 1 minute, Shazia, hang on.
And Saket Gokhale, the fact is,
one minute, ma'am, 1 minute.
On his side is saying that, so clearly, I don't know.
1 minute, can I just ask a direct question to Saket Gokhale? Saket Gokhale, the CBI has been asked to inquire into Birbhum by the Calcutta High Court, which obviously itself also seems to have no faith in the West Bengal police conducting a fair and independent inquiry. To that extent, is this not a loss of faith for the Mamata Banerjee government?
Whether it's a lack of faith, because the CBI is investigating the same first information report that was filed by the Kolkata police, by the Bengal police. Number one, Mamata Banerjee reached the site, met the victims. The block president who was responsible, the accused, was immediately arrested. As we speak right now, there's a 10-day operation going on to recover any kind of illegal arms, ammunition, explosives in the state. Now contrast that, you know, we're talking about constantly the BJP spokesperson here is trying to, you know, again, play politics over dead bodies by talking about charred bodies. I don't remember...
But that's what happened to this, right?
I did not interrupt you. I know this is very difficult for you. It's difficult for MPs in Bengal as well. But remember, there are other people also who have a right to speak their opinion.
Yeah, only with facts.
In Uttar Pradesh,
make your point, Saket Gokhale.
Okay. When Hathras happened, very surprised, the BJP did not think of that charred body which was burnt illegally in the middle of the night by police without consent from the family. When the Unnao victim was blatantly run over by their own MLA, he was rewarded for it. Ajay Mishra is still... Let me finish.
All over the place, but you're not talking about the incident.
Is still a union minister.
Not one by one. Producer, Shazia, I will come back to you. Producer, volume. Yes, go ahead, Saket.
In how many of these... Rajdeep, sorry. But these three incidents from UP, just an example I spoke about, how many of these spots were visited by Yogi Adityanath as the chief minister? In fact, they went and they protected the accused. We did not do that. The chief minister of West Bengal ordered the police to arrest the block president, even if he was from our party. Did Yogi Adityanath visit any of these spots when these incidents happened? So the BJP should not be lecturing us about how to govern law and order in a state. They have state-sanctioned murders that happen. Police burn bodies in the middle of the night.
You're skating on thin ice.
Saw the charred body of the Hathras victim.
It's a matter of great shame. No. I mean, you can.
Okay, let me now Shazia Ilmi answer my question. Don't get into a.
Also, Rajdeep, sorry, one last thing.
No, I won't allow producer Saket's voice now to be put out.
West Bengal into.
Now, Shazia, direct question to you as well. Shazia, you must listen to me. Shazia, we will not listen to you. I am asking you a direct question now. Shazia Ilmi, let's be very clear. The BJP has every right to raise Birbhum. Any political party would raise what happened. It's a terrible incident. My only point is now that the CBI the Kolkata High Court has ordered a CBI inquiry, surely it's time for the likes of Shubhendu Adhikari also to step back rather than go every now and then to the speaker, to the governor, call for president's rule. The governor is accused of converting the Raj Bhavan into a political party office. Surely there must be rules that are equal for all, whether it's an opposition ruled state or a government ruled state. You can see that when Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, Rahul Gandhi went to Hathras, you accused them of playing politics. Today, if Shubhendu goes to Birbhum, you will be also accused of playing politics.
The questions are longer than
the
answer I could possibly give.
Please
so
do.
If you want to indulge in whataboutery, I can really go on. But I really want to stick to this. You're talking about the governor. Has it ever happened in the history of this country? Has it ever happened in this country?
No speaking, please.
Has it ever happened in the history of this country that the governor of a state is not allowed to speak to the police itself and to have no local protocol when it comes to police protocols? When he visits a university in the state, in the home state where he is the governor, and Mamata Banerjee calls up the IPS officer and says, why did you go and receive? She calls up the district magistrate. There is surveillance and people and even the industry units and
that's because the governor is seen to be behaving like a political agent of the center. You see, the problem at the moment is there is a complete lack of trust.
That's your word against
That's a
mine.
trust deficit.
No. That's exactly.
Okay.
So that's your word against mine, just like it is Mamata Banerjee's word against the governor. You see, that's subjective.
Okay.
So it's like, whose side are you on? If you say that, because I've seen the governor's letter which he wrote.
I am on the
this
side
matter.
of the victims of Birbhum. I want justice for the victims of Birbhum. The disgraceful scenes in assembly are hardly what we want to see.
And in the assembly, if BJP is raising this point, if Shubhendu Adhikari is raising the point in the assembly, just like in the parliament, the farmers' bill was talked again and again umpteen times. What is the harm? Why should Shubhendu Adhikari not speak about it? I mean, I think we should all speak about it.
Because you don't allow debates. You don't allow debates in parliament. They don't allow debates in assembly. You don't allow inconvenient debates in parliament. The BJP doesn't allow inconvenient debates in parliament, and the Trinamool doesn't allow inconvenient debates in the assembly.
This should be, and I think Mamata Banerjee should take responsibility and say that she has converted her state into some sort of a killing fields, and it's totally she's incapable of running law and order.
Okay.
She is the
you made your point. My final producer. Now we must go to Saket for a point. Saket, at the end of the day, Mamata Banerjee is responsible for law and order. Just as you in the past would accuse, let's say, the Gujarat government when Mr. Modi was chief minister and the riots took place, he was responsible for law and order. Without engaging in whataboutery, the Mamata Banerjee government must explain what it's going to do on Birbhum and ensure it doesn't happen again. Is that an assurance you're willing to give that the Mamata Banerjee government will ensure that the killing fields of Bengal do not spiral out of control?
Rajdeep, I mean, you and I and everyone here knows that this killing field term, I mean, it's a very BJP term, and BJP has a big experience in establishing killing fields everywhere. I don't want to go into that. I want to be very simple here. You spoke about Gujarat, we spoke about UP earlier. Taking responsibility, the chief minister reached the spot.
I want Bengal to take responsibility.
One minute.
I forget about Gujarat and UP.
Correct. So let me finish. In contrast to those examples, here, the chief minister reached the spot. The chief minister met the victims. The chief minister ordered the arrest of the accused, and before the chief minister got there, 23 suspects were already in custody. These are the 23 suspects that are now being questioned by the CBI as well. Second thing, your question about whether High Court ordering a CBI probe means the state law and order machine, there is no faith in it. By that logic, even Hathras was handed over to the CBI. But did the BJP then admit that the court had lost faith in the state law and order machinery?
Okay.
Number three, it did not matter what party the accused belonged to. The accused was immediately arrested, and along with that, you talk about fixing the situation. Like I said, as we speak right now, the West Bengal police is doing a 10-day operation where they've been asked to look for illegal explosives, arms, weapons, ammunition, seize them, and take action against whoever is found with those. Have we seen anything along those lines?
I wish it had not taken a Birbhum for such an operation. The fact at the moment is the West Bengal government has much to answer for what happens in Bengal, just as a BJP-ruled government would have if similar instances took place in a BJP-ruled state. As far as I'm concerned, only one thing matters. It's a 7-letter word called justice. And I really hope that the Birbhum victims get justice in the fullest possible way. That's all that one really wants, not the kind of disgraceful scenes that we saw today in the Bengal Assembly. Shazia Ilmi, Saket Gokhale, for joining me in our face-off today. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Let's turn to our newsmaker now tonight. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has strongly defended his statement on Kashmir files that has gone viral. Remember last week, Kejriwal in the Assembly had questioned whether a film like Kashmir Files should be promoted and given an entertainment tax waiver by the central government. Speaking exclusively today to India Today, Kejriwal said what is really needed is justice for Kashmiri Pandits who were forced to leave the valley. He urged the filmmakers of Kashmir Files to spend the proceeds from their movie on the welfare of Pandits. Listen in to this interview with Preeti Chaudhary and Shweta Singh.
क्या हो गया अरविंद जी, आप लोग 2016 में मैं देख रही हूँ कि नील बटे सन्नाटा को आपने टैक्स फ्री किया, 2019 में आपने किया सांड की आंख, पिछले साल कर दिया 83, लेकिन कश्मीर फाइल्स से आपकी क्या आपत्ति रही कि आपने कहा कि नहीं मैं टैक्स फ्री नहीं करूँगा?
मेरे लिए फिल्म इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है, हो सकता है आपके लिए इम्पोर्टेंट है, हो सकता है बीजेपी के लिए इम्पोर्टेंट है, आप सब लोग के लिए इम्पोर्टेंट हो सकती है। कश्मीर में बहुत बड़ी त्रासदी हुई, 30-32 साल हो गए उसको। कश्मीर के पंडितों को उन्हीं के घरों से बेघर किया गया, कई सारे लोगों की मौत हुई। 32 साल के बाद अगर देश की केंद्र सरकार, सत्तारूढ़ पार्टी उनको कहती है कि हमने आपके लिए एक फ़िल्म बनाई है, ये फ़िल्म देख लो, इससे बड़ी इंसल्ट हो सकती है उनकी। वो लोग क्या चाहते हैं? आप किसी कश्मीरी पंडित से पूछना कि वो क्या चाहता है।
पुनर्वास।
उसे पुनर्वास चाहिए। 8 साल से केंद्र में बीजेपी की सरकार है, उन्होंने पुनर्वास क्यों नहीं किया? 8 साल राज्य करने के बाद कहते हैं अब तुम्हारे लिए फ़िल्म बनाई, फ़िल्म देख लो, और उस पर करोड़ों रुपए कमा रहे हैं ये लोग। गंदी बात है ये, इस पर कोई गर्व करने की बात नहीं है। हमारे हाथ में जितना भी था हमने उतना किया कि दिल्ली में कुछ कश्मीरी पंडित जो आए थे उनको उन्होंने दिल्ली में 1993 में कॉन्ट्रैक्ट टीचर्स की नौकरी की, तब से लेके आज तक वो कच्चे टीचर्स बन के रह रहे थे। उन कच्चे टीचर्स को बीच में दिल्ली में कांग्रेस की सरकार भी आई, बीजेपी की सरकार भी आई, किसी ने पक्का नहीं किया, हमने आके उनको पक्का किया। हमने, आपको तो पता भी नहीं होगा ये, मैं ढिंढोरा नहीं पीटता अपने काम का, उनके दर्द के ऊपर मैं राजनीति नहीं करता, उनको हमने पक्का किया, रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव इफेक्ट से पक्का किया। और वो लोग, तो केंद्र सरकार की जिम्मेदारी है कि उस पर राजनीति करने के बजाय, उस पर फिल्में बना के पैसे कमाने की बजाय उनका पुनर्वास किया जाए और सारे लोग मिलके करें, इसमें राजनीति नहीं होनी चाहिए, सारी पार्टियां, सारी सरकारें मिलके उनका पुनर्वास करते हैं।
अरविंद जी, फिल्म की बात करते हैं, क्या अरविंद केजरीवाल को लगता है कश्मीर फाइल्स प्रोपेगेंडा फिल्म है?
मेरे को फिल्म के बारे में मेरे को कोई लेना देना ही नहीं है।
देखी आपने? मैंने
नहीं देखी, लेकिन मेरा कहना है कि इस वक्त कश्मीरी पंडितों को फिल्म नहीं चाहिए, पुनर्वास चाहिए। आइए मिलके, मैं हाथ बढ़ा रहा हूँ, आइए मिलके उनका पुनर्वास करते हैं, उनकी ज़िंदगी को बेहतर करते हैं, उनके अंदर जो टीस है अन्याय की उसको निकालते हैं।
पर अरविंद जी, जो हुआ, जो दिल्ली असेंबली में हुआ, आपने जो स्टेटमेंट दिया था दिल्ली असेंबली में, बीजेपी कह रही है कि आपने मजाक उड़ाया, आप हंसे, जो पीछे आपके लोग बैठे थे वो हंसे, कि आपने,
हमें तो बीजेपी पे हंसी आ रही थी,
बीजेपी
नौटंकी कर रही है। पूरे दिल्ली देश के अंदर बीजेपी इस टाइम उनका पुनर्वास करने की बजाय जाके पिक्चर के पोस्टर चिपका रहे हैं, उनके सारे ऊपर से नीचे तक सारे कार्यकर्ता। ये काम है बीजेपी का, ये करने आए थे राजनीति, ये राजनीति करने आए थे। अंदर ही अंदर बीजेपी वाले भी दुखी हैं जिस तरह से उनका नेतृत्व उन लोगों का इस्तेमाल कर रहा है, बीजेपी वाले भी नहीं चाहते।
कश्मीरी एक्टिविस्ट कह रहे हैं, कश्मीरी पंडित कह रहे हैं कि आप उन पे हंसे हैं।
हाँ, कोई नहीं कह रहा, बीजेपी कह रही है।
पर अगर कोई हर्ट हुआ है तो आप उसको, उन कश्मीरी पंडितों को कुछ कहना चाहेंगे?
उनको यही कहना चाहेंगे कि मुझे बेहद दुख है और मुझे बेहद तकलीफ़ है कि 32 सालों से आपके साथ अन्याय हुआ और किसी ने कुछ नहीं किया। मेरे हाथ में जितना था मैंने दिल्ली में किया। आज अगर हमारी केंद्र में सरकार होती, मैं आपको यकीन दिलाता हूं कि मैं आपके ऊपर फिल्म बनाने की बजाय आपका हाथ पकड़ के वापस कश्मीर में आपके घर छोड़ के आता।
इस पे बस एक और आखिरी सवाल करेंगे अरविंद जी, और क्योंकि राज्यसभा में आज संजय सिंह जो आप ही के पार्टी के नेता हैं राज्यसभा में, 0R पे नोटिस दिया है कि कश्मीर फाइल्स को दूरदर्शन पे दिखाया जाए, यूट्यूब पे डाला जाए, जो आपने भी असेंबली में कहा। आप मानते हैं पार्टी का लाइन यही है कि यही होना चाहिए?
क्यों नहीं होना चाहिए? उस फिल्म के ऊपर पैसे क्यों बनाए जाने चाहिए? उसको सबको दिखाओ। उसमें कश्मीरी पंडितों की त्रासदी मैंने तो खुद नहीं देखी, लेकिन जिन्होंने भी देखी वो बताते हैं उस त्रासदी को बड़े अच्छे से दर्शाया गया है। तो वो दिखाओ, सबको दिखाओ, फिर उस पर पैसे नहीं बनाने चाहिए यार, वो गंदी बात है।
उसके प्रोसीड्स क्या कश्मीरी पंडितों को जाने चाहिए?
बिल्कुल जाने चाहिए,
क्योंकि
आपने सही बात कही है, मैं समर्थन करता हूँ आपका
कि जाने चाहिए। उस फिल्म के जो प्रोसीड्स हैं
बता रहे हैं 200 करोड़ से ज़्यादा कमाया गया है, वो 200 करोड़ से ज़्यादा उनके पुनर्वास पे खर्च होना चाहिए, वो सारा पैसा उनके पुनर्वास पे खर्च होना चाहिए।
You're watching the news today. On the other side, high drama at the 94th Academy Awards. Will Smith, the big winner of the day, throws a punch at Chris Rock for a joke on his wife. What really happened? We'll tell you on the other side. Wow! Wow!
Bueno, ahora el negocio no funciona. Yo pierdo ahora el negocio, pero no quiero que pierda mi país. Yo quiero que mi país gane. Bueno, ahora el negocio no funciona. Yo pierdo ahora el negocio, pero no quiero que pierda mi país. Yo quiero que mi país gane. Mientras yo pierdo, mi país gane. No pasa nada, yo me recuperaré algún día.
No, como no sé, para mí yo pensar o volver en Ucrania a ayudar para arma o qué hacer, pero mi mujer cada día llorar, dice, cuando tú morir en esta guerra yo sola y por esto yo de momento no sé. Cuando más difícil para Ucrania yo pienso que volver, esto yo pienso.
Ahora duermen, te podría decir que duermen 3 y 4 horas al día, conectados siempre a la televisión. Tú ahora, si fueras a un piso o una casa de una ucraniana, tendrías la televisión conectada al satélite en todas las horas del día y también pues están con la recogida del material, tienen un centro logístico del ayuntamiento y ellos están haciendo guardias ahí por todo lo que llega, porque nos llega de otras poblaciones de Lérida, de Cataluña, que canalizamos lo que podemos.
Welcome back to the news today. It was Hollywood's biggest night of the year. The 94th Academy Awards were announced in Los Angeles. But what made headlines today was actor Will Smith, who won the Best Actor award, taking on comedian Chris Rock, literally on the stage. An altercation of a kind that the Oscars have never seen. Smith punched Rock after the comedian made a joke at Smith's wife. Shortly after the incident, as I said, Smith went on to win the Oscar for the Best Actor. But the real drama was on the stage.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Will Smith may have won the Best Actor award at the 2022 Oscars, but it is this action performance that he will be remembered for. The actor lost his cool at comedian Chris Rock during the ceremony as he went straight up on the stage and smacked him after Rock made a joke at Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith.
Wow.
The altercation did not stop there. Smith went back to his seat and yelled at Rock thereafter, telling him to keep his wife's name out of his mouth.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your f***ing mouth.
I'm going to, okay? Okay.
All this happened when Rock appeared on stage to present the Oscar for documentary feature. He made a joke about Will's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, being in G.I. Jane because of her shaved bald head. Now, if you jog your memory, last December, Jada Pinkett Smith had opened about her struggles with alopecia,
Y'all know I've been struggling with alopecia.
revealing that she had decided to shave her head instead of constantly dealing with hair loss. So it goes without saying, when Rock passed a comment about her, it didn't go down well with Smith.
I love you.
During the commercial break, Smith was seen being comforted by Denzel Washington and Tyler Perry. Washington apparently told Smith, "At your highest moment, be careful. That's when the devil comes for you." Despite the assault on Chris Rock, Smith attended the full ceremony, but apologized when he won the Best Actor trophy.
I want to apologize to the Academy. I want to apologize to all my fellow nominees. It's not about winning an award for me. It's about being able to shine light.
Uh-oh, Richard.
Emotions were clearly running high at this ceremony. Entertainment Bureau, India Today.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Okay, let's turn to tonight's Good News Today story. It comes from India's first ever snow marathon that took place in Lahore in Himachal Pradesh. What exactly is a snow marathon? Well, let's take a look.
Snow-capped mountains, sub-zero temperatures, and participants unfazed by the harsh weather. India's first snow marathon was held in Himachal Pradesh. Close to 100 people took part in the event, organized by the Lahore and Spiti administration, along with Reach India. The snow marathon had 4 categories: a full marathon of 42 kilometers and 3 half marathons spanning 21, 10 and 5 kilometers. 26-year-old mountaineer Prakriti Vashne, who is attempting to conquer Mount Everest next week, also made it to the marathon.
My whole purpose of coming here and run is because I want to motivate more women to run, and I'm an aspiring climber and I'm attempting Everest this coming week. So yeah, I'm excited for it. And
the snow marathon, the first ever in India, aims to boost tourism in Lahore and Spiti.
We thought we should give an opportunity to the citizens of the country to come and participate and have a look-see at the natural beauty of this place, as well enjoy running on the snow, which is going to be a first-time experience.
There's been a long 2-year wait, and after that they're hoping that this will bring in many more participants, not just from India, but across the globe. The other part is obviously about how this is going to train marathon runners for global contest. Meanwhile, India Today is here on ground zero to get you all the report.
With Kamaljit Sandhu in Lahore, Bureau Report, India Today.
To our final image of the day that comes from Telangana, where Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao on Monday inaugurated a renovated Sri Lakshmi Narsimha Swami temple. The state government has spent over 1,800 crores on the renovation of the temple, and its Gopuram is covered with 125 kilos of gold. This could be Telangana's answer, some say, to Tirupati. Whatever it is, you, the devotee of the news, stay well, stay safe. Good night, Shubhratri, Jai Hind, Namaskar.
Ukraine has accused Russia of using Nazis' flaming onion bombs in civilian areas. International law bans the use of flaming onion bombs or white phosphorus shells in populated civilian areas. White phosphorus has often been described as a horrific weapon. It burns things to the ground, and if it does stick to your flesh, it will burn your skin. Russians are accused to be using these internationally banned bombs on civilians in the Donbass region. How dangerous is it? This colorless or yellowish translucent wax-like substance, which smells like garlic and ignites around oxygen, can cause some serious injuries and even death when it comes into contact with the skin or when it's inhaled or even swallowed. It is very hard to extinguish, and when it sticks to the skin or flesh, it makes the burn more serious. But white phosphorus are not banned. Although international law bans the use of white phosphorus shells in heavily populated civilian areas, it allows them in open spaces to be used as cover for troops. White phosphorus is primarily designed to take advantage of its smoke-producing properties to work as a cover. This is why the United Nations Convention on the Prohibition of Use of Certain Conventional Weapons exempts it from being an incendiary weapon. Incendiary weapons are designed to start fires or destroy sensitive equipment using fire. When it comes to white phosphorus, its effect to cause burn and injury are seen as incidental to its illuminant property, which is used as smoke cover for troops. So by the United Nations Convention on the Prohibition of Use of Certain Conventional Weapons definition, it strictly does not come under incendiary weapons. But it still does narrowly fall under convention guidelines, which bans or restricts its use on civilian areas, as it can cause unnecessary or unjustifiable hurt as the substance burns fiercely and can cause horrendous injuries. Studies have shown that the effects of white phosphorus is severe, especially on infant mortality, cancer, and leukemia. White phosphorus munitions have been used on battlefields to make smoke screens, generate illuminations, mark targets, or burn bunkers and buildings as well. In 2004, the United States acknowledged using white phosphorus in Fallujah, Iraq. In 2006, Israel used white phosphorus shells during the Israel-Lebanon conflict. During the Gaza war of 2008 and 2009, Israeli military were accused of using white phosphorus shells in populated areas, which the Israeli army then denied. The Taliban have also been accused of using white phosphorus during the US-Taliban clash near Bagram. During the Syrian civil war, white phosphorus was used via airstrikes and artillery attacks. By the looks of it, these chemical bombs were used by militaries across the world by exploiting this legal grey area of international law of warfare. The continuing crisis between Ukraine and Russia poses a threat for Taiwan. How? Russia's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine has set a dangerous precedence. Now Taiwan expects a similar attack from China. Due to this, they are now conducting many reservist training sessions. The Ukraine-Russia crisis is a tricky challenge for China. Many reports suggest that China was aware of Russia's invasion but turned a blind eye. Political analysts suspect one of the reasons might be because China has vested interests to see how the Russia-Ukraine crisis plays out. Can Putin and the Russian army survive the opposition from the West after carrying out such a large-scale invasion in modern times? China has long believed that the island country of Taiwan should be a part of China, and the Xi Jinping government has been aggressive about it since Tsai Ing-wen was elected as Taiwan's president back in 2016. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the Taiwan army is on high alert in fear of a potential attack from Beijing. Taiwan's president Tsai Ing-wen was seen observing the reservist training in Taiwan. Beijing has publicly vowed to seize Taiwan, even by force if necessary. China has maintained strong pressure on Taiwan and has breached Taiwan's air defense zone with warplanes on an everyday basis. After seeing the Ukraine-Russia crisis, many Chinese nationalists said on social media that this is the best time to get Taiwan back. But if China believes and supports Russia and its invasion, why did they abstain from their vote at the UN? At the UN, countries voted on whether to condemn or support Russia. Due to the strong Russia-China ties, experts believe that China would vote in favor of Russia. But China abstained from its vote. One of the reasons is China believes not to be involved in any international geopolitical issues and expects other countries not to get involved in theirs. Another reason that experts strongly believe in is China's keen interest in capturing Taiwan. But is it easy for China to carry out an invasion on Taiwan given the sanctions from the West? Amid the Russia-Ukraine invasion, the West has imposed strict sanctions on Russia and it has taken the Russian economy for a spin. US supports the democratic Taiwan and has an arms trade deal of $100 million. So the question remains, if China chooses to invade Taiwan, how will it tackle the sanctions from the West? Elon Musk surely lives and breathes to colonize Mars someday. He delivered a presentation on Starship, a rocket that one day might take you to Mars. But before Starship, we had InSight, a mission that was developed to learn Mars' inner structure. What did InSight do? Let's learn more about it. After its launch from the Vandenberg Air Force Base in California, the US probe InSight landed on Mars. NASA's mission, a study of Mars' inner structure to help understand better how rocky planets in the solar system are formed. To do this, InSight uses an instrument called SEIS, a seismometer that will measure Martian tectonic activity. SEIS, designed in France, is extremely sensitive. It is protected by a wind and thermal shield. Scientists are hoping to record around 100 Mars earthquakes. The lander is also equipped with a heat sensor, HP Cube, which measures heat flowing out of the planet's interior. The probe penetrates almost 5 meters into the Mars's surface. The mission is expected to last for 2 years.
When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism. This is Ukraine's true danger zone. Up close and fearless in Ukraine's combat zone. When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism.
You are presented by Green Lamb Laminates, Gustakhi Saaf. Co-powered by Apollo 24/7. Download now. In association with Hetic Fittings, make your furniture work beautifully. AU Bank, बदलाव हमसे है. Ozone, अब चलेगी finger की. Trends get them talking. Kotak Mahindra Mutual Fund.
Hello and welcome to an India Today special broadcast that comes to you from the strife-torn Ukrainian capital Kyiv. I'm Gaurav Sawant. This is day 33 of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. And India Today has the biggest team of reporters getting you a 360-degree perspective on this big story from Kyiv to Kharkiv and Donetsk.
Russia inches towards capital Kyiv. Putin's missile fury on full display. Ukraine burns under Russia's phase 2. But defenders unwilling to bend the knee. UK's star streak game changer for Ukraine. Who will win? Putin's ambition versus Zelensky's resilience. With Gaurav Sawant from War Zone.
Russian forces have mounted a multiple-pronged attack for the capture of Kyiv. There were rocket strikes and missile strikes early this morning on Kyiv. Now, several routes leading to Kyiv were targeted in the Russian missile and rocket strike. There was a swift counter-attack and response. The situation remains extremely grim as the Russians now appear to be moving forward from multiple new fronts.
Штук 20 пролетіло. The raging battle for capital city Kyiv continues, and Moscow is increasing both intensity of attacks and ferocity of weaponry, aiming to make the phase 2 of the ongoing war even deadlier. Russian troops are attempting to advance on Kyiv from the northwest and the east, capturing nearby roads and villages. But Ukraine is not backing down. Russian forces are currently being held back by Ukrainian fightback in outskirts of Kyiv.
Early this morning, there was intense shelling reported from the north, northeast and west, 3 directions in Kyiv, and that is where the Russian forces are reportedly advancing. So initially there was a feeling that there would be a lull since negotiations are happening, but there appears to be an intensification in the operations that are being carried out by the Russians.
Villages surrounding Kyiv, including Bashiv, Stoyanka and Sitnyaki, are in ruins. Their infrastructure damaged, buildings destroyed and streets deserted.
The workers are still working and they're making sure that in case of any heavy bombardment in this area in Sofia Square, this statue, which is an ancient statue, is a heritage of the city, is protected and is not damaged in any kind of air attacks from the Russian forces.
Destroyed tanks, armored vehicles dot the landscape, indicating a massive trail of destruction. India Today met a group of US war veterans who have arrived in Kyiv to help Ukraine fight back.
So, Marshall incidentally is a combat veteran. He's had extensive tours of duty overseas with the US Armed Forces. John, you're helping as a volunteer. What do you do?
So I'm actually bringing donations from Canada. I'll be volunteering at the Menica border crossing, just helping refugees. I passed through there a couple days ago. They definitely need all the assistance that they can get, 100%.
Despite continued attacks from Kyiv, some residents of Kyiv who fled the capital city are slowly returning home.
Now that the two of you are back and you're on rotation, you're on R&R right now, you'll go back to the front line.
Yes, next week, approximately next week.
So the time that you're spending together, and I don't want to, be as, take away a lot of your time, but you do intend to now come together for a longer period, I believe.
Of course. Now we have time for a week and we try to work, try to drink a coffee and maybe bicycle tomorrow. Of course, I find flowers for she and try to make happy moments.
When you try to make happy moments, you're also planning to spend your life together, I believe. That was the conversation the two of you were having when we met.
Мы когда с тобой гуляем, ты планируешь, что мы и дальше будем с тобой гулять, будем дальше встречаться?
Конечно же. Я надеюсь...
Of course we will try and we make everything what we can for this. And ты надеешься, что...
Да, я надеюсь, что мы будем вместе.
She hope we will be together.
I wish you all the best, sincerely. The two of them looked lovely together and, that's when we walked up to them and struck a conversation. Amidst all the death and destruction and gloom, there is this story of life, there is this story of happiness.
Local churches becoming rallying points for residents. With Gaurav Sawant and Rajesh Pawar in Kyiv war zone. Bureau Report, India Today.
For 33 days and counting, Ukraine has desperately asked the West for surface-to-air missiles and fighter jets. They've also asked the West to declare a no-fly zone over Ukraine. That hasn't happened. The United Kingdom has, however, approved the supply of Starstreak missiles. Now, this could well prove to be a game changer as far as Ukraine is concerned. And there is tremendous excitement should Ukraine actually get Starstreak on ground. Surface-to-air missiles that can travel 3 times the speed of sound and can take down low-flying enemy aircraft and helicopters. But will the Starstreak actually be supplied, and when, remains the big question. But truly, if supplied, then it would increase the challenges for Russian fighter pilots and helicopter pilots in this region.
Over 33 days, Russian aircraft have been raining hell on Ukraine. But Russian aircraft have also been facing hell in the country, with large numbers of fighters and helicopters brought down by bruised but determined Ukrainian air defense units. Since the beginning of the war, Ukraine has been awash with lethal Stinger shoulder-fired anti-aircraft missiles, a weapon that has imposed a huge cost on Russia's air power superiority and will to dominate. But now, after over a month of constant bombardment, with its cities reeling from a second wave of Putin's aerial strikes, a new weapon is flowing into Ukraine. One that will give it even more teeth against Putin's air force. Days after the NATO summit in Brussels, the Boris Johnson government in the United Kingdom has decided to supply Ukraine with Starstreak, the fastest short-range air defense missile system in existence. The man-portable shoulder-fired Starstreak system fires missiles that accelerate to up to 4 times the speed of sound, blindingly zooming into their targets. The weapon then launches 3 laser beam-riding sub-munitions, increasing the likelihood of a successful hit on their target. The Starstreak has a number of advantages over the Stinger and Igla systems currently being used by Ukrainian air defense troops. Most notably, the Starstreak cannot be jammed by infrared or radar countermeasures. Britain's air defense commander has declared that Russian pilots will think twice about getting into their planes after British soldiers have trained their Ukrainian counterparts to fire Starstreak. With this latest NATO weapon entering a high-tech battlefield, will this give Putin's air power impulses reason to stay grounded? Or has Putin already war-gamed Ukraine's new defenses? Watch this space to find out what happens next. Bureau Report, India Today.
Russian missiles continue to pound Ukraine, and it's not just the capital Kyiv, but multiple cities are repeatedly being targeted, and not just from the skies or ground, but even from sea. Now, 4 caliber missiles fired by the Buyan missile boats have repeatedly targeted Ukrainian vital assets and vital points. Ukraine, no part of it is safe, either from the skies or ground, and now even from the seas, as India Today's Shiv Arur gets you more in this report.
A brooding night sky over the Black Sea, torn apart by 4 caliber cruise missiles launched from a Russian Navy Buyan M missile boat. Their targets, Ukrainian sites near the country's capital, Kyiv. Capable of hitting targets hundreds of kilometers away with devastating accuracy, the use of caliber cruise missiles signals a shift into the realm of advanced weaponry in the second phase of this war. The Russian Ministry of Defense has flaunted this video of the Iskander short-range ballistic missile as well, being used to target a claimed foreign mercenary unit using a Kyiv shopping mall as a reloading base for its rocket units. The third major Russian missile system being used is the Yakhont high-speed cruise missile, seen here being launched against a Ukrainian weapons depot in the western part of the country. The Yakhont is a progenitor of the Indo-Russian BrahMos missile in service with the Indian Armed Forces. And the missile that Russia has used for the first time in combat, the Kejriwal hypersonic air-launched cruise missile, seen here smashing into a Ukrainian underground weapons depot. The Kejriwal is a nuclear-capable weapon that has of course been used only with conventional warheads in Ukraine. Four advanced Russian missile systems, all 4 being used in anger against Ukraine. The damage they're causing, plain for their makers and the world to see. Of course, there's another Russian missile that's on operational alert amidst this Ukrainian crisis. A weapon stored away secretly inside Russia's Bore-class nuclear ballistic missile submarines. A weapon that will hopefully never be used. The Bulava, a submarine-launched intercontinental range ballistic missile. A Cold War weapon that could bring about the end of the world if ever fired in anger. A weapon whose heightened state of alert has sparked nuclear fears across the world. As Russia's war in Ukraine rumbles forward in its second month, missile power will define the onward march. Bureau Report, India Today.
The Russian armed forces are amongst the deadliest in the world. Their army, navy, air force, missile force, their nuclear force. Now, it is the second strongest armed forces in the world. Their nuclear stockpile, the largest in the world. They have air-launched, ship-launched, submarine-launched and ground-launched nuclear missiles, including intercontinental ballistic missiles. I now want to cut across to India Today's Shiv Arur to help us break down and understand the might of the Russian forces.
Use of advanced, long-range, costly missile systems has come to become one of the defining features of the second month of Russia's invasion in Ukraine. Just take a look at the weapons they're being used, as you saw in that report. The first most visible one is the Caliber. That's a cruise missile. It's a long-range cruise missile that was launched from the Buyan M missile boats, part of the Black Sea Fleet. These can be fired from ships, from submarine, as well as from air. A lesser variant of this is also, in the Indian Armed Forces. These can attain extremely high speeds, sometimes supersonic speeds as well. And like I said, they have very, very long, credible ranges. So the Caliber cruise missile has ranges of up to 4,500 kilometers in the more advanced variants. The next big missile system that Russia has brought to bear in this second phase of the conflict, is the Iskander missile system. It contains a hybrid of both ballistic as well as cruise missile systems. These are radar-evading weapons that have been designed, for stealthy attacks. These are short-range ballistic missiles and cruise missiles which are part of this, and videos put out by the Russian armed forces suggest that the Iskander has been used quite a bit in the conflict so far, and you're going to see much more of the Iskander being used in the second phase of this battle. Then we move on to the third big weapon system that is being used here, which is the Yakhont, called the Onyx in Russian service. It's very similar to the BrahMos, which we here in India know so well about. It's a supersonic cruise missile, short range, once again about 300 to 400 kilometers, has been used to hit specific, high-value targets, including weapons depots in Russia. This is a missile system that makes it, one of the fastest missiles in the world in its class, very similar to the BrahMos, that derives from the technology there. And finally is the Kinjal, which is an air-launched hybrid missile. It's usually a nuclear-capable delivery system, but obviously has been used only with a conventional warhead, thankfully, in Ukraine so far. And notably, the Kinjal is a weapon that's been used for the first time in anger, for the first time in combat during the Ukraine crisis. So 4 missile systems, making it very clear that Russia has had enough of using, baseline military equipment like tanks, and is now resorting to using much more expensive equipment to cause damage in Ukraine.
Mariupol, once a bustling industrial sector, a coal plant, the Donbass region is considered one of the core issues in this battle. Before this battle started, Russia or Russian-backed forces were in control of 30% of Donetsk and Luhansk. Now they're almost in control of between 70 to 80% of this territory. But why is Mariupol so crucial for Russians? They want to show victory, and to show that victory, they need to be in control not just of Mariupol, but that region that goes all the way from Mariupol down to Crimea, so that water supply to Crimea can be maintained. And for this, Mariupol has now been reduced virtually to rubble. Multiple buildings have been decimated. The Russian forces are now on the streets of Mariupol, even as reports come in that the Ukrainian forces have mounted a swift counter-attack to take back some territory. But vital assets and vital points in the Donbass region, to a very large extent, are now completely in Russian control, as our next report tells you.
Over 3,000 killed. Thousands forcibly taken to Russia as prisoners. Many, many more injured. No building standing without damage. This is the horrifying story of Mariupol. The Ukrainian city of 5.5 lakh, now in absolute ruins. The destruction is near total. Bombarded, hit with missiles, struck with massive airstrikes relentlessly. The sprawling port city of Mariupol has been wasted by Russian heavy artillery fire. Its once plush and picturesque neighborhoods now unrecognizable and reduced to ghost towns. Many streets are seen littered with unclaimed corpses and civilians killed in airstrikes. Ukraine has also accused Moscow of forcibly moving out over 40,000 citizens from Mariupol to Russia without consent from Ukrainian government. The port city, lying in direct line of Russian fire, an invasion has seen toddlers and newborns dying in Russian attacks. Hundreds had perished earlier when Russia bombed a theatre where civilians had taken shelter. Russia has been accused of using super powerful bombs after trapping nearly 2 lakh people and denying them safe passage. France has also raised concerns over the humanitarian catastrophe in Mariupol and called for urgent international intervention. French Foreign Minister called Mariupol the new Aleppo, drawing parallels with the total destruction of the Syrian city.
Mariupol, c'est la guerre des sièges, dans laquelle
Mariupol is a siege war that Russia has been entering for a month now. And siege warfare is horrible warfare since civilian populations are being massacred and annihilated.
Ukrainian President Zelensky slammed Russian forces for targeting civilians, including bombing a school sheltering women and children.
Destroyed schools, churches, houses. All the people are killed and all the children are killed. The air bomb on the maternity hospital is the final proof that the genocide of the Ukrainians is taking place.
Half of Mariupol's population is still trapped, becoming victims of President Putin's war game. And time is running out for Mariupol real fast. Bureau Report, India Today.
India Today is the only channel to get you 360-degree perspective on this story. We're telling you what's happening in Ukraine. We'll also tell you what's happening on the Russian side. India Today's foreign affairs editor Geeta Mohan is in Donetsk. And Donetsk, remember, the government in Moscow, President Putin had declared both Luhansk and Donetsk as independent republics. Now they have additional territory. Geeta Mohan on ground zero in Donetsk with this report.
We are here in the heart of Donetsk city. This is the Artemis Street, and you can see all the malls, the major restaurants, clubs, all of these places have been shut down. They're shut because of the situation on the ground. Only a few bare minimum grocery stores, some of the shopping centers are open. All the rest are absolutely shut with no products to sell. No people over here actually to come and buy the products. With the journalist Outrage in Donetsk, Geeta Mohan for India Today.
For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power. US President Joe Biden's statement in Warsaw at the Royal Castle about the Russian President Vladimir Putin has stirred a hornet's nest. The White House, the State Department, Antony Blinken, the US Secretary of State, they've had to clarify the American president's statement saying that regime change in Moscow wasn't America's agenda. What President Biden was actually talking about was only to ensure that Russian President Vladimir Putin does not have the power to change regimes in the neighborhood. But the American president has been in the eye of a storm for a number of statements for which the White House has had to issue a clarification, even in the past.
It was Saturday in Ukraine when the bombs began falling on Lviv to the west of the country. The city had seen relative calm over the month of war, but the strikes at a fuel depot sent smoke and flames billowing into the air. At about the same time, around 400 kilometers further west, President Joe Biden of USA was meeting Ukrainian refugees at the National Stadium of Poland in Warsaw. When reporters asked him what he thought of President Putin of Russia, the US president said he's a butcher.
You see this and you're dealing every day with Vladimir Putin. I mean, look at what he's done to these people. What does it make you think? He's a butcher.
If Putin was sending a message to Biden by bombing Western Ukraine because the US president was in neighboring Poland, then Biden too had a message for Putin later that evening.
Over the last 30 years, the forces of autocracy
It was a much-awaited speech from one who is called the leader of the free world. At the end of his 3-day visit to Europe, in the backdrop of the raging war to his east, President Joe Biden's words would in effect indicate the direction Western strategy would take in the days to come. For 27 minutes, the President of the United States spoke, showing full support for Ukraine and drawing out the parameters of Western response to Russian action. And then suddenly, 27 minutes later, at the very end of his speech, he dropped an ad-libbed bombshell.
Russia's choice. We will have a different future, a brighter future, rooted in democracy and principle, hope and light, of decency and dignity, of freedom and possibilities. For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power. God bless you all, and may God defend our freedom.
Those 9 ad-libbed words, for God's sake, this man cannot remain in power, set off alarm bells all over the diplomatic world. It had US officials scrambling to damage control, and Secretary of State Antony Blinken clarified that regime change in Russia was not on US agenda.
Made the point last night that
But this was typical Joe Biden. He had often been accused of letting his mouth run away from prudence. During his 2008 campaign for presidential nomination, Biden had described another contender as the first mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean and a nice-looking guy. That contender was Barack Obama, whose running mate he later became and stayed vice president during the Obama presidency. On Ukraine, as President of the United States, Joe Biden had been building up to getting his words get the better of US policy.
I think he is a war criminal.
In the matter of a week, Biden had not only called Putin a war criminal, he also referred to him as a murderous dictator, a pure thug who is waging an immoral war against the people of Ukraine. He said the Russian invasion of Ukraine was inhuman. Some of what Joe Biden sometimes says is considered nothing more important than a gaffe. Like when he said Iranian instead of Ukrainian during his State of the Union address on 1st of March.
Putin may circle Kyiv with tanks, but he'll never gain the hearts and souls of the Iranian people.
But there are times when the seasoned politician that he is, his verbal slip-ups may actually be pointing to how things really are. But then, as the President of the United States, he knows the weight his words carry. During his presidential campaign, Joe Biden often told his audience how the words of a president can matter when they can send men and women to war, and how they can also bring peace.
The apprehension now is that rocket attacks, air attacks and the missile strikes on and around Kyiv will intensify in the days ahead. India Today will continue to report from ground zero, but that is all that camera person Lalit Mohan Joshi and I have for you on this special broadcast from Kyiv, Ukraine. Many thanks for watching. For all the latest news and updates, stay with India Today.
Russia's aggression in Ukraine was met by swift, severe and crippling sanctions from the United States, the United Kingdom and the European Union. Now big tech giants are joining the fight against Russian aggression by updating their terms to do business with the country. The world's 5 leading tech companies, Google, Apple, Meta, Twitter and Amazon, are imposing significant sanctions on Russia. Social media giants Meta, Twitter, ByteDance, TikTok have come under immense pressure to curb the spread of misinformation. Meta has removed access to Russia Today and Sputnik on both Facebook and Instagram. It has also removed the option for state media to monetize content on any of its platforms, forcing the Kremlin to ban the social media giant. Tech giant Google has limited the use of Google Pay in Russia for customers using a sanctioned bank. It has also stopped selling online advertising in Russia, besides banning Russia Today and Sputnik in Europe. Apple has suspended all product sales in Russia and has limited Apple Pay and other services. It has also blocked Russia Today and Sputnik from Apple Store. Twitter has restricted some users from Russia. Twitter is also complying with European Union sanctions on Russia's state-affiliated media, Russia Today and Sputnik. YouTube has banned the Russian state media outlet Russia Today and other Russian channels from receiving advertisements. It is said that videos from Russian creators will come up less often in its recommendations. Other tech companies taking a stern stance on Russia are Netflix and Amazon. Netflix has temporarily stopped future projects and acquisitions in Russia. While tech companies are working together to introduce measures to curb Russian expansionism, the war has also brought focus on cryptocurrencies. The Ukrainian government has appealed on Twitter for cryptocurrency donations. Ukraine's Vice Prime Minister recently tweeted the wallet address for donations. He also urged crypto exchanges to block the addresses of Russian users. In Kyiv, cryptocurrencies are helping fund Ukraine's resistance against the Russian invasion. But Russia may use them to mitigate the impact of crippling economic sanctions imposed by the West.
As long as, the shop owner or their son or their daughter has the capability to take in cryptocurrency payments, but the breadth of crypto adoption in Ukraine is really an important factor here.
While the overwhelming impact of the sanctions imposed by big tech companies on Russia will only be evident in the coming months, cryptocurrencies will provide an alternative to both Ukraine and Russia.
On a daily basis, thousands of oil spills occur worldwide in the oceans, causing oil pollution. This oil pollution in the oceans can have a disastrous effect on marine life. Most people don't realize how serious the problem is until there's a major incident at sea, such as a tanker spill or an oil rig explosion. Oil slicks have the potential to kill seabirds and marine animals such as seals as they drift towards the coast. Although only 10% of global marine oil population is caused by spills of this nature, the majority is generated by everyday maritime traffic such as illegal dumping and tank cleaning, as well as onshore industrial activities. The environmental impact varies depending on location. Deep sea spills are typically smarter and easier to clean up. The oil sinks as it becomes denser, is broken down and destroyed by bacteria. Oil slicks on a rocky coast or exposed beach can have a significant impact on marine ecosystems, and they can take up to a year for wave action to clear away. This oil pollution is also extremely harmful to coral reefs. Coral regeneration can take up to 10 years and is often irreversible. And pollution in mangroves or on sandbanks can cause long-term damage that lasts more than 20 years.
When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism.
You are watching India Today. You are watching.
Presented by eBix Cash. हर खुशी के लिए काफी है. Co-presented by CoinDCX, your gateway to crypto. Co-powered by Green Lamb Laminates, Gustakhi Saaf.
You're watching Business Today. I'm Nabila Jamal. We'll take you through the top business news. First, the headlines. Over 800 essential medicines, including paracetamol, to get more expensive from 1st of April. National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority allows price hike by more than 10%. And the centre will depute a team of experts to Vellore and Pune to probe recent incidents involving electric scooters catching fire. Both Ola electric scooter and Okinawa's electric bike had been tested and received type approvals before being launched into the market. Sensex snaps 3-day losing streak, ends 231 points higher. Nifty top 17,200 mark, led by auto, bank, oil and gas, metal stocks. Shares of PVR and Inox Leisure jumps after the multiplex operators announced their blockbuster deal. The merged company will now be named PVR Inox and will create India's largest firm, almost a film exhibition entity with over 1,500 screens. GAIL jumps 3% as board to mull share buyback on March 31st. This is second such move by state-owned gas distributor in many years. Now, in a major development, the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority has announced a hike in prices of around 800 essential drugs from the 1st of April. Prices of medicines used to treat fever, infections, heart diseases, high blood pressure, skin diseases and anemia will likely increase. These drugs, in fact, includes drugs like paracetamol, azithromycin and several others that are now only going to increase as the weeks to come. Pharmaceutical industry has welcomed this move, the government's decision, stating that this 10% hike in scheduled drugs is after many, many years. The central government has reportedly begun a probe into recent incidents of fire in electric wheelers manufactured by Ola and Okinawa. In fact, according to sources, a team of independent experts have been sent to Vellore and Pune to take a quick look at the causes behind the fires. The team will be probing whether incidents were being caused by manufacturing defects or some external factors here. An Ola S1 Pro e-scooter had caught fire in Pune on Saturday, and that video was widely shared on social media. Ola, of course, has independently ordered a probe now into this incident. The weekend was an action-packed one for the country's entertainment industry, with PVR and Inox joining hands to create a theatre Goliath. But what does it really mean for you as a viewer who goes out with the family to watch movies in theatres, and also as an investor? Business Today TV analyzes here the proposed mega merger, all for you. Let's have a look.
It is the biggest consolidation in an industry which has just emerged from the toughest of times. Empty seats, theatres bleeding money. It was a nightmare intermission that wouldn't just end for the film industry. The merger of PVR and Inox will create a behemoth. With 1,546 screens in 341 properties across 109 cities. The merged entity PVR Inox Limited will have a whopping 50% market share in multiplexes and a 42% market share in box office collections. So will this combined firepower lead to ticket prices rocketing, especially in larger cities? High-end screens of PVR in Gurugram have been charging as much as 2,100 rupees for one ticket for the S. Rajamouli directed RRR. That's not all. According to Edelweiss research, ticket prices have risen nearly 14% in the past year. However, the growing presence of the likes of Netflix, Amazon Prime and Hotstar may force theatres to moderate their prices.
Yes, there is an ability to increase the prices because it's the number one and the number two player, and they have an audience which come and watch in their own, own screens. So they have the ability to increase the prices. How the market would behave to that is something which only time will be able to say.
The announcement also set Dalal Street abuzz, fueling a rally in both stocks, which were already soaring high since the start of this year. Shares of both PVR and Inox Leisure are up around 50% this year, with Inox touching lifetime highs after the announcement. So if you have missed out on this rally, do you still have the time to invest in these shares?
One should not do fresh buys, but one should continue to hold PVR.
The balance sheets are still under slight pressure. The free cash flows depend a lot on the return of traffic. Whereas the valuations are already assuming that the footfalls will increase dramatically and these guys will go and become very profitable.
The biggest takeaway from the merger is the bargaining power the size gives PVR Inox. The group will be in a better place to bargain with property owners on rentals, with film producers and percentages, with advertisers, and even with ticket booking intermediaries like Book My Show and Paytm. With Tanya Aneja, Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
Now, India's largest telecom operator, Reliance Jio, has launched 259 rupees plan that comes with calendar month validity. This new plan will help prepaid users remember just one recharge date every month. This means that customers will have to remember a single recharge date for their connections. Jio is the first in the industry to launch the calendar month validity prepaid plan here. In fact, this 259 rupee plan comes bundled with 1.5 GB daily data and unlimited calling, along with other benefits on the validity of exactly one calendar month, irrespective of whether a month has 30 or 31 days on that. Ruchi Soya's 4,300 crore rupees follow-on public offer shut for public participation today. In fact, the offer was subscribed 3.6 times. A total of 35% of the issue was reserved for retail investors and saw a 90% subscription. Employees put in bids for 77,616 equity shares against the 10,000 shares reserved for them. Ahead of this FPO, the company had raised 1,290 crore rupees from anchor investors. The offer is entirely a fresh issue of shares. In fact, the company was bought by Patanjali Ayurved after going through insolvency. GAIL was up over 3% in trade today as the state-owned gas distributor said that the board will be meeting on the 31st of March to consider buyback of shares, marking the second such move in as many years. Now, share buyback refers to the repurchasing of shares by the company that issued them in the first place. A buyback occurs when the issuing company pays shareholders the market value per share and reabsorbs that portion of its ownership that was previously distributed among public and private investors. Now, the government owns 51.8% stock in the company, though it is uncertain if it will be participating in the buyback at all. Former NSC MD and CEO Chitra Ramkrishna's judicial custody has been extended until the 11th of April in the co-location case. Now, the Delhi court order came even as the finance ministry clarified on the scam in Lok Sabha today. In fact, the ministry informed the lower house that the scam was perpetrated due to lack of sufficient checks in the system architecture at NSC. The ministry also claimed substantial progress by the CBI in the case, saying that SEBI had not come across any external device installed in the system. Meanwhile, the Lok Sabha was informed that there was no involvement of any foreign exchange in this scam. The centre has laid out a plan to use surplus land owned by government agencies. The National Land Monetization Corporation, as the name suggests, will be established by the government to oversee and manage land monetization. The wholly owned government company will also look after building assets of central public sector enterprise and other government agencies. Listen in as MOS Finance Bhagwat Karad explains the purpose of NLMC.
NLMC 9 मार्च 2022 को जो सेंट्रल कैबिनेट की मीटिंग हुई उसकी तरफ से गठित हो चुके हैं और एनएलएमसी और डीपम ये डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट करने वाले के लिए डिपार्टमेंट है, अलग डिपार्टमेंट है और एनएलएमसी में लैंड जो है, जो सरप्लस लैंड है और उसी के साथ जो नॉन यूज लैंड है, जो क्लोजर सीपीएससी होने वाली है, उसका लैंड इकट्ठा करके उसका मोनेटाइजेशन करने का गवर्नमेंट ने डिसाइड किया है। ये इसमें डिफरेंस है। जो गवर्नमेंट की 100% पीएसयू है उसी का ये नेशनल लैंड मैनेजमेंट कॉर्पोरेशन स्कीम में लिए जाएंगी और जो आइडियल लैंड पड़ी है, आइडियल लैंड हो, बिल्डिंग हो, जिसका कोई भी इनकम नहीं हो रहा है, जो सरप्लस लैंड है उसका कोई इनकम नहीं है, ऐसी लैंड को इकट्ठा करके उसका मोनेटाइजेशन करने का गवर्नमेंट का प्रयास है, जिससे इकोनॉमी बढ़ेगी, जिससे जॉब बढ़ेगा और गवर्नमेंट को उसको फायदा हो जाएगा।
Now let's take a quick look at what else is making news in the corporate world. Adani Total Gas is making its foray into electric mobility by launching its first electric vehicle charging station in Ahmedabad. According to the company, the charging station will enable quick turnaround time for EV owners with best-in-class fast charging technology. Now the company aims to expand its network by setting up 1,500 EV charging stations across the country. Meanwhile, Motherson Sumi Wiring made a decent debut on Dalal Street. The shares of the demerged entity of Motherson Sumi Systems gained 5% after listing at 66 rupees. Online travel service provider Yatra Online has filed papers with SEBI for its initial public offering. This includes a fresh issue of shares aggregating up to 750 crore rupees. Now, the company also announced appointments of Rohit Bhasin, Deepa Mishra, Harris and farmer bureaucrat Ajay Narayan Jha as non-executive independent directors. All right, on that note, I'm going to slip into a short break. We'll be right back to Business Today. Stay tuned.
She's the wife of Ukraine's President Zelensky, and she fears for the safety of her husband. In a written exchange from an undisclosed location with a media house, the 44-year-old revealed that she calls her husband every morning, but only after praying for his well-being. Meet Olena Zelenska, the First Lady of Ukraine. She is the wife of the Ukrainian president, and she has been standing like a strong pillar by his side during these shattering moments of the war. Olena was born in the same city where President Zelensky was raised. She and Zelensky were schoolmates, but they were not acquainted then. Zelensky once said that he knew many of her classmates, but not Zelenska herself. They got to know each other much later when Zelenska was studying at the Faculty of Civil Engineering at Kryvyi Rih National University. She reportedly had a boyfriend at the time, and he was busy trying to make a career in comedy. It is said that it was comedy that united them. Olena was a scriptwriter, and Zelensky is one of the founders at Quartal 95. It is a leading provider of entertainment TV content in Ukraine. Later, Zelensky got her on board as the scriptwriter. Zelenska was one of the writers of the show Servant of the People. The relationship between the couple developed gradually. They dated for 8 years before getting married on 6th September 2003. On 15th July 2004, their daughter Alexandra was born. On 21st January 2013, Zelenska gave birth to their son. Zelenska became the First Lady of Ukraine on 20th May 2019 with Volodymyr's elect. In an interview, she said, and I quote, "I am a non-public person. I prefer staying backstage. My husband is always on the forefront, while I feel more comfortable in the shade. I am not the life of the party, and I do not like to tell jokes." Olena has been a part of many social causes. Her first initiative talked about nutrition reform in Ukrainian schools. In December 2019, during a speech at the 3rd Ukrainian Women's Congress, Zelenska initiated Ukraine's accession to the G7 International Initiative on Gender Equality. She also started an initiative to spread the Ukrainian language in the world and the introduction of Ukrainian language audio guides in the most iconic places, in particular in the largest museums in the world. Zelenska has been drawing attention to the plight of women and children too. She is considered as one of Ukraine's most influential women.
Welcome back. In a highly volatile session, benchmark indices made a smart comeback from the morning lows to break the 3-day losing streak and end in green. Sensex gained 231 points to end above 57,500. Nifty 2 bounced back to shut shop above 17,200. Now, public sector, banks, auto and metals marched ahead in today's trade. Let's have a quick look now, cutting across to our global business editor, Udhyan Mukherjee, for his take on the markets. You know, though markets made a smart recovery today, the Russia-Ukraine war and increase in inflation really continues to weigh on the markets. How do you see the markets' performance in coming weeks with RBI, MPC also just 10 days from now? Udhyan.
It's difficult to project a picture where the market has major upside from here on, Nabila, because I think we have had a decent pullback already. The market collapsed to below 16,000 on the Nifty, and we're already back to more than 17,000. In fact, right now where the market's trading is almost the midpoint of the high and the recent low, between 18,600 and 15,800 and change. You know, So some recovery, maybe the market panicked and lost its nerve a little bit when the war broke out. And on realizing that maybe it had got oversold, we've had a pullback to 17,200, 300 levels. But from here on, given the kind of uncertainty which is still swirling around in the environment, it's difficult to suggest that there will be a major runaway rally from here on. I think the market needs to pause here and take stock of the situation. Crude prices are still very high. The war situation is not resolved. Inflation is very sticky. I think central banks still have a job to do with interest rates during the course of the year. And it's increasingly looking like one of those years where it will be difficult to eke out any kind of gains for the market. So at this point, having seen the pullback already to reasonable levels, I think the market will probably pause and consolidate here best case. If the situation does not resolve itself globally, there is room for another dip a few weeks down the line. So I think we're still in volatile terrain, and people should not get carried away to think that a firm bottom has been formed for the year. It may be for the near term, but in the medium term, it's still going to be a volatile year, and people should tread with caution. With me to talk about the kind of pullback we've seen in the market after that disastrous fall post the Ukraine war is Krishna Kumar Karwa, Managing Director of MK Global Financial Services. Krishna, good to see you after a long time. Are you confident enough to say now that a bottom is in place for the market, or is it too early to say that?
So then I think the data and the statistics keep on changing, and as we have no clue about how the situation in Ukraine, Russia will finally settle down. To call the bottom of the market just because stock prices have stabilized would not be the right way to look at things. For us, I think what we should look at is that the high oil prices and the impact on the corporate performances, how that behaves, how that pans out in terms of the quarterly numbers and the guidance for the next few quarters. I think that will be very important to see from a short-term perspective if we have to look at the bottom of the market. Apart from that, I think we have seen relentless selling from FPIs, and it is not only for India, but for other emerging markets also. So far, we have seen that the domestic flows have been very robust, and which keeps able to absorb the relentless FPI outflows. But how long will this domestic investments come into the markets? That is also a key question to look at. So to call that the market has bottomed out, yes, temporarily, yes, it looks like. But if you look deeper into the market, which means that, okay, the headline indices seem to have stabilized. But if you look at the overall the top 500 stocks, more than 60% of the stocks are quoting below their 200-day moving averages, which means that they have all entered into kind of bear territories. So I would be very circumspect before calling the bottom of the market.
Let me rephrase the question, Krishna. Given the circumstances that you spoke about just now, I think, should it be fair to assume that some things have changed for the market fundamentally too since the start of the year, and therefore it may be difficult for the market to reclaim its highs or strike out meaningful upside in the next few months?
Yes, I think the whole yes, the market situation has completely changed. Let's put it this way, that this kind of geopolitical situation the market has never seen in terms of US, UK, US and Russia being almost at loggerheads with each other, and Ukraine being a part of it. My sense is that the whole geopolitical situation, how it is evolving, I don't think so we have an answer to that question. And that will possibly have an overbearing on the market for some time to come. The whole deglobalization, which was picking up some steam even before this, has also got accelerated post this crisis. How this will pan out, again, we are not too clear. So the markets are in a state of flux in terms of how to value stocks or what multiples that stock should be given, A, in a rising interest rate environment, and B, in an environment where there is too much of geopolitical state of flux. So I think that fundamental shift is happening in the market. Let's put it this way, that in the last 10 years, whenever there has been challenges, you always had the US Fed coming in, giving more liquidity and the markets were in a positive territory, or there was a kind of a bull market which was always there. But I think that card is no longer been available to us. So the markets will have to learn to live with reducing liquidity and a global environment which is uncertain. So I think to answer your question, that today the market, if I have to look at it, is grappling between whether to buy to value or to be in growth. That is a key question. And also all highly valued stocks where we were always questioning in terms of how to justify those valuations, be it in the tech companies or be it into the consumer companies, etc., globally and locally. I think there is a huge question mark on valuations versus the growth that many of these companies are showing.
Now, you spoke about domestic liquidity, and it has held the market up in the face of very serious FII flows so far. But when you talk to HNIs or the kind of domestic fraternity that you reach out to, what's the sense you get? Do you think this kind of resilience will hold out, or at some point do you think even the patience and the courage of domestic investors will be tested?
Yeah, I think the human memory always looks at the immediate past. And today the human memory or the investor memory is colored with what they saw post-March 2020. And whoever invested in the last 12, 18 months or did not panic at that point of time, they have reaped good portfolio gains. So that is one reason which makes investors feel that, okay, this crisis also, do we have an answer how it will unfold? Nobody has an answer to that. But hopefully solutions will be found and things will improve. So that is one thing which is holding at the back of the investors. Second is there are not too many options, which means that interest rates being what they are in terms of, so where do you put your money? So you stay invested in equity is kind of a theme which has become more and more prevalent among the investor community. So this is, I'm talking of the average retail investor who devote time beyond normal as far as their equity portfolios are concerned. The super HNIs, the large family offices who have their own understanding and views on everything, I think they are very clear in terms of that in the next 12 to 18 months, possibly the returns on their portfolios are going to be muted. A lot of gains have already been made in the last 12, 18 months. And with inflation being what it is and nobody has a clue on how high it can go, so portfolio returns will be muted. They take cash calls and they are taking cash calls in terms of exiting equity portfolios and going into cash. So there is a different segments of market. The one which takes active portfolio management, yes, they are taking these kind of calls. But the average retail investor, I think he is staying put, which can be seen by the kind of regular inflows we are seeing in the domestic mutual funds.
While none of us can call the bottom or figure out how this market situation will pan out over the next 6 months, Krishna, the one thing that people do at such times, especially with the way crude has moved, is that they rejig their portfolio. They say, okay, we'll be in these sectors now and we'll avoid these sectors now while remaining invested in the market. Do you think that's a prudent way of looking at it, that you don't take a massive cash call and exit, but you at least realign your portfolio to the new realities?
Absolutely. I think that is what active portfolio management is all about. And you should certainly be looking to do that. And that's what investors are doing. I think there what is happening is that sectors which are relatively under-owned, they are showing a lot of resilience. And most of these sectors would be sectors which have not done well over the last so many years and where valuations are reasonable. Namely sectors like your fossil fuels, your power, including metals. So these are some of the sectors where there has been a lot of under ownership and they are showing a lot of resilience, and maybe possibly they should outperform even going forward. The next set of sectors which I believe can possibly do well would be sectors which would benefit out of, I think, the whole economic life going back to normal now post 2 years of COVID. So sectors like hotels and aviation, or even your exhibition theaters, those kind of sectors, they could possibly see a lot of investor interest.
All right, you can watch the full show on businesstoday.in and, of course, our YouTube channel. But for now, thank you very much for watching.
Watching India Today.
It was Hollywood's biggest night of the year. The 94th Academy Awards were being announced in Los Angeles. But what made headlines was superstar actor Will Smith and comedian Chris Rock's altercation during the live telecast. Will Smith punched Chris Rock after he made a joke at Smith's wife Jada Pinkett. But shortly after the incident, Will Smith even went on to win the Oscar for the Best Actor. Here's the complete story on what happened on that night.
Oh, wow!
Will Smith may have won the Best Actor award at the 2022 Oscars, but it is this action performance that he will be remembered for. The actor lost his cool at comedian Chris Rock during the ceremony as he went straight up on the stage and smacked him after Rock made a joke at Smith's wife Jada Pinkett Smith.
Wow!
The altercation did not stop there. Smith went back to his seat and yelled at Rock thereafter, telling him to keep his wife's name out of his mouth.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your
I'm going to, okay? Okay.
All this happened when Rock appeared on stage to present the Oscar for documentary feature. He made a joke about Will's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, being in G.I. Jane because of her shaved bald head. Now, if you jog your memory, last December, Jada Pinkett Smith had opened about her struggles with alopecia.
Y'all know I've been struggling with alopecia.
Revealing that she had decided to shave her head instead of constantly dealing with hair loss. So it goes without saying, when Rock passed a comment about her, it didn't go down well with Smith.
I love you.
During the commercial break, Smith was seen being comforted by Denzel Washington and Tyler Perry. Washington apparently told Smith, "At your highest moment, be careful. That's when the devil comes for you." Despite the assault on Chris Rock, Smith attended the full ceremony, but apologized when he won the Best Actor trophy.
I want to apologize to the Academy. I want to apologize to all my fellow nominees. It's not about winning an award for me. It's about being able to shine light.
Richard!
Emotions were clearly running high at this ceremony. Entertainment Bureau, India Today.
Will Smith is clearly facing the rap. After smacking Chris Rock on camera, Smith was seen celebrating his Best Actor Oscar victory, grooving even to his hit Getting Jiggy With It. Many have now slammed the actor for assaulting a comedian and then showing no regret. The Academy also is under fire for not taking any action against actor Will Smith.
This is Will Smith celebrating his Oscar win. With his award in hand, he's dancing away to his popular hit, Getting Jiggy With It. Not a care in the world, all smiles, almost as if nothing eventful happened just an hour ago. Slapgate, featuring Will Smith and Chris Rock, has earned Oscar winner Will brickbats for his response to Chris Rock's joke about his wife. But let's first play out for you what happened.
Wow, dude. He is praying that Will Smith wins. Like, please, Lord. Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
I'm going to, okay?
And what followed later was brutal social media criticism. While some sided with Will Smith, others thought violence was definitely not the answer to the situation.
Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
The video of Will Smith dancing away has only added to the anger because clearly he faces zero consequences. The Academy also faced harsh criticism for its tone-deaf reaction, merely saying that they don't condone violence. Many comedians spoke out, slamming Will Smith, worried that targeting a comedian for his joke and even physically assaulting him would set a terrible precedent. It also took away from the historic significance of Will Smith's Oscar win as the 5th black man to win the award. Wherever you stand on the Will Smith-Chris Rock fiasco, violence quite simply is never the answer. And social media is now in the midst of a heated debate over whether Will Smith overreacted.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out.
Or whether Chris Rock overstepped the line with his G.I. Jane joke. Entertainment Bureau, India Today.
That was a greatest night in the history of television. Okay.
Could actor Will Smith lose his Oscar as a result of violent outburst? The Smith Rock Slapgate, as it is being called, has now triggered a massive outrage and debate. While the Academy only put a weakly worded statement on social media, now viral moment has sparked memes, even jokes online. Here's a report of how the reactions been since that Slapgate.
Wow! Something unexpected transpired at the Oscars 2022. Something that no one actually thought would happen. As the Academy Awards returned to its home, that is the Dolby Theatre in Los Angeles, after the pandemic played spoiled sport in the last 2 years.
I'm out here. Richard.
An angry Will Smith went up on the stage and smacked Chris Rock, who had seemingly made a tasteless joke at his wife Jada Pinkett Smith. While the highlight of the Academy Awards should have been the winners, Will Smith and Chris Rock's unexpected altercation on stage became the limelight of the event. And what followed was brutal social media criticism. While some sided with Smith, others thought violence was definitely not the answer to the situation. There were some angry fans who even went on to tagging the wrong Will Smith, the one who's a podcaster and video game creator. The namesake had to bear the social media brunt. Celebrities also took to social media to react on the unexpected altercation.
Fun can be made even by me.
You should go ahead, Ashu.
No, Sajid.
That's not all. The Smith fiasco was also compared by a few with Indian filmmaker Ashutosh Govarkar's verbal spat with Sajid Khan at the 2009 award show, where the latter slammed the former for making fun of the cine industry as well as trying to impress the viewers with jokes and mocking Harman Baweja.
Shut up, Sajid.
No, you don't tell me to shut up, Ashu. Please don't tell me to shut up, Ashu.
Yes, Sajid. We are friends, absolute friends. You can say as friends whatever when I'm walking around and I can't say it to you. Not fair.
But I don't tell you to shut up.
I'm saying sorry, Ra.
Yeah.
I said shut up, I'm sorry.
Just about an hour after the awards night was concluded, the Academy released a statement on the whole incident, asserting that it did not condone violence of any kind, leaving fans to speculate if Will Smith would have to give back his award for Best Actor as a prize for smacking Chris Rock on stage. Entertainment Bureau, India Today.
The Will Smith-Chris Rock feud has actually been festering for a few years now. While Smith and Rock stirred together in the 90s in an episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Chris Rock has now time and again poked fun at Smith's wife Jada Pinkett Smith. And looks like this time Will Smith appeared to have just had enough.
Actor Will Smith's altercation with comedian Chris Rock at the Oscars may have shocked viewers, but it is not the first time the former has baited the latter with jokes at his expense.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
It was a G.I. Jane jump.
Keep my wife's name.
In fact, the feud between the two has slowly been brewing over the last couple of years. That's right, not many know that Will Smith and Chris Rock had once shared screen space in 1995 for an episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Now, which one of you handsome men is big?
Their relationship seemed cordial at the time, but 2 years later, the comedian took a jibe at Will while interviewing his wife Jada on his talk show, The Chris Rock Show.
Because you just did an interview without mentioning the name Will Smith.
Post this incident, Chris, Will and Jada all appeared friendly towards each other over the years.
Unbelievable, Dave. We're going to keep the kid, though. We're keeping this one.
However, in 2011, Chris Rock once again made a joke on how Will has been messing it up for everyone, including him, while expressing his annoyance at his industry colleague's success.
Singing and dancing. The guy's already taken parts from me. Now his kids are taking parts from my kids. I got it.
That's bad parenting.
It's horrible. Will Smith, don't you have enough? Damn you, Will Smith.
In 2016, Jada was one of the many A-listers who boycotted the all-white Oscars after it was called out for its lack of diversity among nominees especially amongst the black community.
Jada went mad and Will went mad. Everybody went mad. You know, it's quite like Jada got mad. Jada says she's not coming, protesting. I'm like, is she on a TV show?
Aiming at Jada, Chris, while hosting the Oscars back then, used her as a joke material in his opening monologue. Tensions were still running high 2 years later when Chris Rock took another swipe at Will Smith after he wished his ex and baby mama, Sherry Zampino, a happy birthday in an Instagram post. So yes, Chris Rock's joke at his wife,
Will Smith wins, like, please, Lord!
one more time at the 2022 Oscars must have surely acted as a boiling point for Will Smith.
Oh, wow!
Entertainment Bureau, India Today.
Oh, wow!
Over the course of its 94-year history, the Academy Awards has had fair share of controversies, and while the altercation between actor Will Smith and comedian Chris Rock this year was just one of many, I now get you some of other infamous and historic moments that got Hollywood's biggest night in the spotlight.
The Oscars might be the biggest night in the entertainment calendar. But it's never just about honoring the best movies Hollywood has to offer.
That Will Smith wins, like, please, Lord!
Over the course of its 94-year history, the Academy Awards has had its fair share of controversies. And while the altercation between actor Will Smith and comedian Chris Rock this year is just one of many, here's a look at some of the other infamous moments that got Hollywood's biggest night in spotlight. Yes, if you jog your memory, with all 20 acting nominees, Caucasian, the 2016 Academy Awards found itself at the center of controversy thanks to an alarming lack of diversity. The hashtag #OscarsSoWhite quickly lit up social media, prompting Spike Lee, Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith to lead a boycott of the ceremony. Host Chris Rock's opening monologue addressed the furor head-on.
Here at the Academy Awards, otherwise known as the White People's Choice Awards, you realize if they nominated host, I wouldn't even get this job.
The 2017 Academy Awards telecast was coming to an end. The Best Picture had just been announced. The producers of La La Land were making their acceptance speeches.
Come on. La La Land.
And then suddenly, producer Jordan Horowitz was at the mic, waving a white card.
This is not a joke. This is not a joke. I'm afraid they read the wrong.
This moment turned out to be one of the most embarrassing, more than just awkward.
Moonlight. Best Picture.
The biggest mistake in the history of the Academy Awards, played out before an audience of millions watching on TV and a theatre full of stars as a chaotic scene unfolded on stage at the Dolby Theatre just after midnight on the East Coast.
Thank you very much.
Wow, this is
Moonlight, the Best Picture.
Another time Oscars made headlines was in 2018 when comedian Kevin Hart publicly stepped down as the host for the 2019 Academy Awards after a series of his old homophobic tweets resurfaced. Hart has since tried to address the issue through his statements, appearances, posts, and even a Netflix docu-series, and many of his moves have only fanned the flame further. This controversy continued to dominate the headlines to an extent that the Oscars were held without a host up until 2022, which saw 3 presenters on the stage: Amy Schumer, Regina Hall, and Wanda Skies for the first time in 35 years.
This year, the Academy hired 3 women to host because it's cheaper than hiring one man. It's fun, right? Yeah,
Entertainment Bureau, India Today.
You're the best part.
One more week and you're in there.
Stay with it.
Yeah.
But beyond this headline event, after a short commercial break, let's bring you all the big highlights from Oscars 2022, the winners and losers, and the celebrations that follow.
You are watching India Today.
Russia, which has launched military action against Ukraine, has father of all bombs in its weaponry. Yes, you heard that right. Father of all bombs is the world's most powerful non-nuclear bomb. Here's all that you need to know about FOAB. What is father of all bombs? The bomb that Russia has is a thermobaric bomb. It comes by many names: an arsenal bomb, a vacuum bomb, a fuel air explosive. It is a super powerful non-nuclear bomb that has a blast equivalent to more than 44 tons of TNT. Father of all bombs can cause damage in a radius of 300 meters. The destructive weapon is dropped from a jet and detonates mid-air. It pulls oxygen out of the air and produces a similar effect to a small nuclear weapon. Fuel air bombs are more complicated than they may sound. They carry a different fuel which quickly turns into an arsenal that seeps into buildings and low places such as cellars, bunkers and caves. Afterwards, a large explosive goes off shortly which carries metal grains. But it's not the weapon's most devastating effect. It's the supersonic shock wave that's the deadliest, which results in a vacuum. Simply put, the so-called vacuum bomb is capable of vaporizing human bodies, crushing internal organs, and reducing cities to rubble. Nothing can protect from it. Not a tank, not body armor. The destruction is definite. Who developed these bombs? Both the United States and the Soviet Union developed thermobaric weapons in 1960s. In September 2007, the largest thermobaric weapon ever made was detonated by Russia and created an explosion equivalent to 40 tons. Russia's father of all bombs is said to be 4 times more powerful than the United States' mother of all bombs. The US version was first tested in 2003 in Florida, and it reportedly costs over $16 million each. In 2017, the US dropped one which weighed 21,600 pounds on the Taliban in Afghanistan. It left a crater more than 300 meters wide after it exploded 6 feet above the ground. China has also developed a bomb to counter America's mother of all bombs. In 2019, China tested the Xi'an H-6K. According to the Chinese government, Xi'an H-6K can destroy any building or military establishment. Use of father of all bombs on Ukraine. The FOAB is Kremlin's weapon of choice. The bomb was allegedly used in Syria in 2016, and it can now be used to demolish the Ukrainian defense establishment and, more importantly, break the morale of the country's military and its people. Reports have it that Putin has ordered its use as part of his shock and awe campaign. Should you upgrade to 5G? Are you still wondering if you should get a 5G compatible phone? Well, it'd be a future-proof upgrade, especially with what 5G can really offer. 5G is faster, exactly 20 times faster than 4G. Experts are saying now that it's likely to bring a technological revolution. Unlike its predecessor 4G, which used longer airwaves, 5G uses millimeter waves, which makes it much faster. So say goodbye to annoying buffering when watching your videos. Why is 5G so fast? The millimeter waves are short, which means they have limited range and higher penetration. 5G also carries the promise of making latency disappear, which means that there's going to be less delay between sending and receiving information. So downloading heavy file sizes, of course, will take a few seconds. Can 5G make our cities smart? The idea is that 5G can create smart cities with more connected devices. For instance, increased use of connected or autonomous vehicles will impact lifestyle choices. This also begs the question of enormous amount of data it will generate. So, digital security will be an area of concern, of course, especially since 5G network is more difficult to protect than its predecessors. So, are you ready for the next upgrade?
When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism.
You are watching India Today. You are watching India Today.
As the awards night proceeded, good news came in for Will Smith because he won the Best Actor award soon after that historic altercation with the comedian. But apart from that, Jessica Chastain took home the Best Actress award. Troy Kotsur and Ariana DeBose took home the Best Actor and the Actress in a Supporting Role. While filmmaker Jane Campion made history by winning the Best Director award, Apple film Coda won the Best Picture Oscar. Dune, on the other hand, shone through the evening with maximum awards. Here's a list of now all the winners and the highlights of 2022 Academy Award, the Oscars.
The wait is over as all the big winners of the 94th Academy Awards have been announced. The star-studded ceremony, just like every time, was held at the Dolby Theatre in Hollywood. It was the first time since 2018 that the Oscars had a host, and also the first time in 35 years it had 3 presenters on the stage: Amy Schumer, Regina Hall and Vanda Skies. Good news came in for Will Smith as he took home the Best Actor gong for King Richards.
Richard!
The actor, who apparently had an altercation with comedian Chris Rock on stage a couple of minutes before his big win, got emotional during his acceptance speech.
I want to be a vessel for love. I want to say thank you to Venus and Serena. I just spit. I hope they didn't see that on TV. Oh, man. Richard Williams was a fierce defender of his family. In this time in my life, in this moment, I am overwhelmed by what God is calling on me to do and be in this world. And what I loved, thank you, D, Denzel said to me a few minutes ago, he said, at your highest moment, be careful, that's when the devil comes for you. So what'd you think? I wrote me a 78-page...
The actor played the role of Venus and Serena Williams' father in the film, for which he won the top honor.
Never heard of them. They're from Compton.
It's okay. They're just not used to seeing good-looking peoples like us.
She's nervous.
You walk out there with your head up. You are a champion, and the whole world knows. Venus and Serena gonna shake up this world.
Jessica Chastain, on the other hand, took home the Best Actress award for her performance in The Eyes of Tammy Faye.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh my gosh, you guys.
The actress essayed the role of the wife of controversial televangelist Jim Baker in the biopic that outlined the Bakers' troubled marriage and Tammy Faye's support for LGBT rights.
Jim will preach and I'll sing.
God does not want us to be poor.
Wonderful, a pleasure.
Now God has a voice in this fight.
Don't go forward looking in the rear view mirror of my life. This is who I am.
All are artists, and I know Troy Kotsur won Best Actor in Supporting Role for his performance in Coda.
Working with my family.
An Apple film about the child of deaf parents, which not only bagged the Best Picture Oscar, but also the Best Adapted Screenplay Award.
For Berklee College of Music, I can help you get a scholarship.
Ariana DeBose, meanwhile, won the Best Actress in a Supporting Role Oscar for West Side Story. She is the first queer woman of color and Afro-Latina to receive the award.
Oh my God. Yikes. Okay. Oh my word. You know what? What is this? You know what? Now you see why that Anita says, I want to be in America, because even in this weary world that we live in, dreams do come true.
Among those who took home the top honor was also filmmaker Jane Campion. She won the Best Director award for The Power of the Dog.
Well, Brother Phil?
That's not all. She created history by becoming the third woman in Oscar's 94-year-old history to take home the prize in a field still dominated by men in Hollywood.
He's just a man, Peter. Only another man.
Sort of a lonesome place out here, Pete. Unless you get in the swing of things.
Zack Snyder's zombie action movie Army of the Dead won the Fan Favorite Award at Oscars 2022.
What is this? It's a goddamn zombie tiger. That's crossing the line.
While Billie Eilish won Oscar in the Best Original Song category for her song In No Time to Die.
There's just no time to die.
When you were young and your heart,
I admire your life, Mr.
A brief moment was also spared to celebrate 60 years of James Bond, as the makers gave a special tribute to the franchise with a video.
But if this ever-changing world in which we live in,
Bond, I need you back.
I never left.
Good news came in for Kenneth Branagh as well, as he won the Best Original Screenplay Award. What made his win even more special is the fact that he was nominated 8 times before. He finally bagged the award this year.
Fear is the mind killer.
My Lord Duke.
Where the fear is gone, only I will remain.
Dune shined through the award night as it bagged several awards across multiple categories, including Best Sound, Best Cinematography, and Best Visual Effect. Joseph Patel, on the other hand, won in the South Asian category for his documentary feature, Soul of Summer. What's more, the evening was not just about awards and celebrating the best from the world of cinema, but it was also meant for bringing together some of the best performances by popular artists such as Beyonce. Entertainment Bureau, India Today.
Thank you so much.
Now remember, such a massive event like the Oscars is not just about the awards and the winners. It is also about the fashion sense and the faux pas. Let's take a look now at all the best and the worst dressed at the 2022 Oscars. Take a look at this special report.
Hollywood's biggest night of the year finally returned to its regular home. Yes, after a gap of almost 2 years, the Academy Awards ceremony was held at the Dolby Theatre in Los Angeles, with celebrities stepping out in style for the red carpet. Far from the extremely safe looks that one normally sees on the Oscars red carpet. While many of the stars went all out with some extremely risky fashion decisions, some turned heads with their ensemble and accessories by standing in solidarity with the Ukrainians who are under Russian invasion. There were celebrities who wore blue ribbons that read #WithRefugees. The ribbons are reportedly distributed by the UN Refugee Agency in support of Ukraine and refugees globally. Benedict Cumberbatch spotted a Ukrainian flag pin on his Armani suit, and Jason Momoa's blue and yellow pocket square appeared to be a reference to Ukraine. His suit is an upcycled piece. Writing with Fire, Indian filmmakers Rintu Thomas and Sushmit Ghosh stepped out in traditional attire, while rapper Megan Thee Stallion was a vision in a crystal-encrusted blue Gaurav Gupta gown. Kourtney Kardashian, who posted with Travis Barker, was one of the few people to go the vintage route, wearing an 80s Mugler dress. Jessica Chastain, on the other hand, hit the Oscars red carpet in a stunning purple and copper sparkle Gucci gown. Mila Kunis attended the Oscars with husband Ashton Kutcher. While Mila wore a satin blush-colored gown, Ashton looked dapper in a black tuxedo. Interestingly, Penelope Cruz's Chanel dress reportedly took 680 hours of work and had around 8,000 embroidered elements. While Nicole Kidman's Giorgio Armani gown was custom-dyed. Kristen Stewart, who defied red carpet convention with her choice of outfit, wore a Chanel necklace inspired by a menswear tie. She was accompanied by her fiancé, Dylan Myers. Zendaya looked elegant as she put her best foot forward at the gala event. She rocked a cropped white shirt with a silver shimmery train skirt. Olivia Colman wears a stunning high-neck pleated silver gown. King Richard star Sanya Sidney's Giorgio Armani strapless gown kept it simple and elegant, but took it up a couple of notches with its soothing color and eye-catching floral print. While Sophia Carson was spotted in a stunning black tulle skirt and one-shoulder tulle top from the fall and winter 2021 Giambattista Valli Haute Couture collection. As much as fans love singer Billie Eilish, her voluminous black ruffle gown didn't seem to have impressed fashion connoisseurs, and these memes are proof of that. The red carpet also saw some unique purses, like Niecy Nash sported one that read "Wifey for Lifey" on the red carpet with her wife Jessica Betts. While 13-time Oscar-nominated songwriter Diane Warren, who arrived wearing a sharp green tuxedo with a blue ribbon honoring refugees pinned to her lapel, opted for one shaped like a boombox. Swedish makeup artist Eva von Bar wore a dress featuring a Renaissance-style design. She paired her look with a bizarre statue-style handbag. Hollywood's leading men also made a statement on this year's red carpet. Will Smith, who attended the award ceremony with his wife, wore a three-piece black suit, while Bradley Cooper donned a black tuxedo and brought his mother, Gloria Campano, as his date to the gala event. Timothée Chalamet pulled off a shirtless look at the Oscars. He walked the red carpet in a sequined Louis Vuitton blazer and complimentary black pants. Andrew Garfield looked dapper in a velvet blazer and black pants. Shawn Mendes charmed his way through his fans' hearts in this Dolce & Gabbana suit. Rami Malek appeared in black aviators on the Oscars red carpet. Actor Simu Liu went all red for his Oscars appearance, while the Power of the Dog actor Cody Smith-McPhee opted for a baby blue Bottega Veneta suit for his Oscars look. Social media influencer Ricky Thompson and American actor and film producer Wesley Snipes, on the other hand, were a total disaster for the Oscars red carpet. Entertainment Bureau, India Today.
Time for a quick commercial break, but when I return, there's a shocker story coming in from Uttar Pradesh's Kushinagar. A mob allegedly lynched a Muslim Bharatiya Janata Party worker only because he celebrated Yogi Adityanath's victory and chanted the Jai Shri Ram slogans. Let's bring you that shocking tragedy coming in after the break.
You are watching India Today.
Russia and Ukraine are at war today, but they were once under the same government ruled by a single authority. So what really happened in the last 70 years that led to the rise and fall of the USSR? To understand this, we need to dive into the land's history. About 1400 years ago, this whole region was known as Kievan Rus. The land was inhabited by Eastern Slavs and faced a series of attacks by ruthless Viking tribes. And just like now, the rule of Kievan Rus was also vying for Kiev. The city of Kiev was thriving under Vladimir the Great. The oldest known ruler of the land was also called Vladimir, and Prince Yaroslav I the Wise, who were the successors of Oleg. But in the 13th century, attacks by Mongols devastated Kiev and left the city in ruins. The center of power then shifted to Moscow, where the Russian Orthodox Church helped in defeating the Mongols. After this began the rule of the Tsar dynasty, and in 1547, Ivan the Terrible declared himself as the first Tsar of Russia. Then in 1914, World War I broke out. The Russian ruler Tsar Nicholas II fought against Austria and Hungary. In 1916 to 1917, a severe famine broke out, and by 1917, 17 lakh soldiers were killed. This fueled public anger against the Tsar regime. On a winter day of March 7, 1917, hungry people revolted on the streets. They stormed the shops and looted bread. On March 27th, following the public agitation, workers and soldiers gathered to form the Soviet at the Russian parliament called Duma. Soviet is a Russian word meaning council or assembly. The Bolshevik Revolution gave rise to Lenin. He dreamt of an egalitarian society and laid the foundation of a classless society. This communist revolution of Lenin was inspired by the ideas of socialism. The visionary Lenin merged Ukraine, Belarus and the far-flung states of Caucasus region with Russia and established the USSR on the 30th December 1922. But it wasn't until Mikhail Gorbachev became the president of the USSR that the country moved towards the principles of democracy. He brought in principles of transparency, but the public opinion began to split regarding Gorbachev. Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania started demanding for separate nations. The disintegration of the USSR was not the result of any single event. The fall of the Berlin Wall, public sentiment against Gorbachev, and the Cold War resulted in demand for independent nations across the Soviet Union. On 8th of December 1991, a Belavezha agreement was signed between Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus, which led to their separation. Fast forward to 2022, Russia has invaded Ukraine. Putin said that in the last 1,000 years, Russia has strayed away from what the ancestors had envisioned, and this could be his attempt at regaining lost empire.
Ask anyone in the auto sector and they'll tell you autonomous vehicles like these are the future of car transport. But that's a long way off. Today, the driver is still fully responsible for controlling the vehicle at all times. Let's look at the 6 levels of driving automation. Level 0. The vehicle has very limited autonomous features, automatic emergency braking, blind spot warnings, lane departure indicators. Level 1. The driver has steering or brake or acceleration support and, for example, lane centering or adaptive cruise control, but not all of these features together. Level 2. Now the car can manage at least 2 autonomous tasks simultaneously: braking and acceleration or lane centering, but the driver must be vigilant. Level 3. The vehicle is able to manage most driving functions on its own, but in limited circumstances, traffic jams for example. When the car says so, the driver must take over. Level 4. There might not be any steering wheel in the car at all. Imagine a driverless taxi or shuttle. The car is fully automated and can be operated in most road conditions and many different environments. Level 5. Passengers are now traveling in a vehicle that can drive itself in all environments at any time of the day or night and in any weather conditions. This is the fully automated vehicle.
You are watching India Today. You are watching India Today.
Five BJP MLAs suspended after a scuffle broke out between the Trinamool Congress and the Bharatiya Janata Party MLAs in the Bengal Assembly. Meanwhile, the death toll in Birbhum has now reached 9 after an injured woman eventually succumbed to her burns. Take a look at this report coming in after that Birbhum massacre that took place.
Punches flying thick and fast as a squabble turned into an all-out violent fight. This was what played out in the Bengal Assembly on Monday. Punches amidst the pandemonium over a heated debate over the Birbhum violence. And soon enough, the blame game over who resorted to such shameful scenes in the Assembly broke out, with the Trinamool and BJP pointing fingers at each other. The video tweeted by the BJP's Amit Malviya shows a BJP MLA accusing other MLAs of pushing him and tearing open his shirt.
मुख्यमंत्री का हम लोग यहाँ पर विपरीत चाह रहे थे जो घटना घटा रामपुर हाट में हम लोग स्पीकर को बोल रहा था लेकिन टीएमसी के कुछ गुंडा विधायक आकर के सब मेरा शर्ट ये सब छीट दिया यहाँ पर हमको धक्का मारा घूसी मारा.
BJP MLAs also staged a protest outside the assembly claiming they were attacked for highlighting the Birbhum violence.
बाहर का जो माहौल है गांव का जो माहौल है जो गुंडागर्दी रामपुर हाट में भादू शेख अनारुल हुसैन ने कर रहा था ठीक अंदर में भी एक ही हालत बना दिया तृणमूल पार्टी पुलिस और आपने गुंडा एमएलए लेकर. एज ए लीडर ऑफ अपोजिशन आई विल सेंड माय रिटन कंप्लेंट टू द स्पीकर. जो आपका आंख का सामने ये सब हुआ ये नहीं होना चाहिए. जो लोग किया है उसका खिलाफ हाउस का जो रूल है रूल के अंदर कार्रवाई होना चाहिए.
Meanwhile, the Trinamool has hit back with a strong counter. This is MLA Asit Majumdar, who claimed he was punched repeatedly by BJP leaders, including Shubhendu Adhikari in the assembly.
আমাদের সিকিউরিটিদের মারছিল আমি হাত জোড় করে বারণ করতে গেছি শুভেন্দু নিজে ঘুষি মারলো আমার চশমা ভেঙে দিয়েছে দেখুন এই দেখুন চশমা ভেঙে দিয়েছে.
5 BJP MLAs, including Shubhendu, have been suspended from the assembly until further notice. The showdown in the Bengal Assembly meant no productive discussion on the horrifying Birbhum violence in the Assembly as the BJP claimed the Trinamool refused to allow a debate in the House, a claim countered by the Trinamool.
जब लखीमपुर में इतनी बड़ी घटना होती है और वहाँ पर आपके पत्रकार से लेके किसान से लेके सबको मार दिया जाता है और वो भी एक मंत्री का लड़का मारता है, उस समय प्रधानमंत्री जी चुप बैठे रहते हैं. फिर भी वो अगर बंगाल को लिए चिंतित है तो मैं उनसे आपके जरिए कहना चाहता हूँ जो यहाँ पर बंगाल के मुख्यमंत्री ममता बनर्जी है, जो सारे चीज़ करते हैं, जो एंटी सोशल कहीं भी वो भड़क सकता है, कहीं भी ये एक यहाँ पर रिएक्शन करते, मैं एंटी सोशल को पकड़ के कोर्ट के सामने लाना, ये हमारे बंगाल के प्रथा है और एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन बहुत इस जोरी के साथ इसका काम कर रही है।
The politics over the Birbhum violence has stooped to a new low with the scenes that unfolded inside the assembly. With claims and counterclaims emerging, the question remains who instigated the violence inside the assembly. With camera person Taposh Beri, this is Anupam Mishra for India Today in Kolkata.
That is all I have for this bulletin. Thank you so much for watching. You can always log on to indiatoday.in for all the latest or download the application on your phones. Thank you for watching. Take care.
You are watching India Today.
Ukraine has accused Russia of using Nazis' flaming onion bombs in civilian areas. International law bans the use of flaming onion bombs or white phosphorus shells in populated civilian areas. White phosphorus has often been described as a horrific weapon. It burns things to the ground, and if it does stick to your flesh, it will burn your skin. Russians are accused to be using these internationally banned bombs on civilians in the Donbas region. How dangerous is it? This colorless or yellowish translucent wax-like substance, which smells like garlic and ignites around oxygen, can cause some serious injuries and even death when it comes into contact with the skin or when it's inhaled or even swallowed. It is very hard to extinguish, and when it sticks to the skin or flesh, it makes the burn more serious. But white phosphorus are not banned. Although international law bans the use of white phosphorus shells in heavily populated civilian areas, it allows them in open spaces to be used as cover for troops. White phosphorus is primarily designed to take advantage of its smoke-producing properties to work as a cover. This is why the United Nations Convention on the Prohibition of Use of Certain Conventional Weapons exempts it from being an incendiary weapon. Incendiary weapons are designed to start fires or destroy sensitive equipment using fire. When it comes to white phosphorus, its effect to cause burn and injury are seen as incidental to its illuminant property, which is used as smoke cover for troops. So by the United Nations Convention on the Prohibition of Use of Certain Conventional Weapons definition, it strictly does not come under incendiary weapons. But it still does narrowly fall under convention guidelines, which bans or restricts its use on civilian areas, as it can cause unnecessary or unjustifiable hurt as the substance burns fiercely and can cause horrendous injuries. Studies have shown that the effects of white phosphorus is severe, especially on infant mortality, cancer and leukemia. White phosphorus munitions have been used on battlefields to make smoke screens, generate illuminations, mark targets, or burn bunkers and buildings as well. In 2004, the United States acknowledged using white phosphorus in Fallujah, Iraq. In 2006, Israel used white phosphorus shells during the Israel-Lebanon conflict. During the Gaza war of 2008 and 2009, Israeli military were accused of using white phosphorus shells in populated areas, which the Israeli army then denied. The Taliban have also been accused of using white phosphorus during the US-Taliban clash near Bagram. During the Syrian civil war, white phosphorus was used via airstrikes and artillery attacks. By the looks of it, these chemical bombs were used by militaries across the world by exploiting this legal grey area of international law of warfare.
United Nations is discussing the Ukraine-Russia crisis at large. But what is the United Nations? Why was it formed? And how many members are a part of it? The The concept of an international organization to promote world peace followed the end of the First World War. Its forerunner, the League of Nations, was set up in 1919 but ceased activities after failing to prevent a new conflict. The name United Nations was first used during the Second World War in a declaration on 1st January 1942. 26 countries pledged to continue fighting together against the Axis powers, Germany, Italy and Japan. The United Nations Charter was signed on 26 June 1945 by 51 original member states, representing 80% of the world's population. The UN was officially established on 24 October 1945 when the Charter was ratified. Its headquarters are based in New York in the United States and are considered international territory. The main bodies include the General Assembly, where all 193 member states are represented. It's here the main decisions are taken, provided there's a two-thirds majority. The Security Council is responsible for maintaining international peace and security. It has 15 members, 5 permanent with the right to veto and 10 non-permanent members. The Economic and Social Council is in charge of economic, social and environmental issues. The International Court of Justice, based in The Hague, is the principal judicial organ of the United Nations. The Secretariat is home to the head of the organization, the Secretary General, who is appointed for a 5-year renewable term by the General Assembly on the recommendation of the Security Council.
The continuing crisis between Ukraine and Russia poses a threat for Taiwan. How? Russia's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine has set a dangerous precedent. Now Taiwan expects a similar attack from China. Due to this, they are now conducting many reservist training sessions. The Ukraine-Russia crisis is a tricky challenge for China. Many reports suggest that China was aware of Russia's invasion but turned a blind eye. Political analysts suspect one of the reasons might be because China has vested interests to see how the Russia-Ukraine crisis plays out. Can Putin and the Russian army survive the opposition from the West after carrying out such a large-scale invasion in modern times? China has long believed that the island country of Taiwan should be a part of China, and the Xi Jinping government has been aggressive about it since Tsai Ing-wen was elected as Taiwan's president back in 2016. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the Taiwan army is on high alert in fear of a potential attack from Beijing. Taiwan's president Tsai Ing-wen was seen observing the reservist training in Taiwan. Beijing has publicly vowed to seize Taiwan, even by force if necessary. China has maintained strong pressure on Taiwan and has breached Taiwan's air defense zone with warplanes on an everyday basis. After seeing the Ukraine-Russia crisis, many Chinese nationalists said on social media that this is the best time to get Taiwan back. But if China believes and supports Russia and its invasion, why did they abstain from their vote at the UN? At the UN, countries voted on whether to condemn or support Russia. Due to the strong Russia-China ties, experts believe that China would vote in favor of Russia. But China abstained from its vote. One of the reasons is China believes not to be involved in any international geopolitical issues and expects other countries not to get involved in theirs. Another reason that experts strongly believe in is China's keen interest in capturing Taiwan. But is it easy for China to carry out an invasion on Taiwan, given the sanctions from the West? Amid the Russia-Ukraine invasion, the West has imposed strict sanctions on Russia and it has taken the Russian economy for a spin. US supports the democratic Taiwan and has an arms trade deal of $100 million. So the question remains, if China chooses to invade Taiwan, how will it tackle the sanctions from the West?
Now, we all know that drunk driving is prohibited and it's important to carry all your necessary documents while driving, but you should also know the exact fines for these offenses because they are rather steep. Juvenile driving. If you are below 18 years of age or you have a minor in the house, make sure they do not sit behind the wheel of the car. There is a 25,000